Hello?
Hello?
Yes?
Who is this?
Who are you trying to reach?
What number is this?
What number are you trying to reach?
I don't know.
I think you have the wrong number.
Wait. Don't you look like Anthony Michael Hall?
Wait, who is this?
Guess.
Is this, I don't know.
Well, let's play a game.
Okay, this isn't funny. Is this Paul? I'll kill you if this is a joke, Paul.
You sure it's Paul? Blondie.
What did you say?
What's a podcast that focuses on the most random horror stuff with special guests that have insulted doppelgangers, Santa Claus, and Betsy Palmer? TikTok, Blondie. If not, I'll gut you like a fish.
The Itty Bitty Horror Podcast with Luis and Tim?
Oh, yeah. And this week's topic is the movie Scream. That was the second dumbest thing we've ever done.
Maybe even the first.
Welcome to the Itty Bitty Horror Podcast. As ever, I am your host, Luis, and joining me today is, of course, Tim Smith.
Yes, it's me. I'm here as well with Luis.
Yay, yes. It's been a minute since we've been on, Tim. The last episode we released was one where we dragged Mr. Claus through the coals, and also
We did.
Yeah, and we also released an episode of Tabloid Time Warp. For those of you that don't know, Tabloid Time Warp is a podcast dedicated to the online archive of weekly world news. You can find that under Tabloid Time Warp wherever you listen to your podcasts. Tim, how you been?
Why do you laugh when you say wherever you listen to your podcasts?
I don't know. Some people might listen to it from a rock or from a jewel-encrusted dildo.
Oh, what? Why did that come up? Anyways, yes. Well, I've been doing good. Funny that you mention it. I watched a little bit more of Scream, and I got to watch it a little bit again before we did this. So I was happy about that because it's one of my faves.
Yeah, I know. I was going to mention that. Excuse me. I know. I was going to mention that because today we're going to be discussing one of your all-time favorite slashers, or maybe even overall films. I'm not sure. But the 1996 classic slasher film, Scream. The film was directed by Wes Craven and written by Kevin Williamson. It stars David Arquette, Neve Campbell, Courtney Cox, Matthew Lillard, Rose McGowan, Skeet Ulrich, and Drew Barrymore.
Woo!
So, Tim, why do you think Scream is so iconic right now within the horror genre in general?
Well, I will say, I feel like Scream was one of the first of the really self-aware movies. I mean, there's been so much written about Scream, I feel like, at this point.
Yeah.
And we're going to add to it. Damn it.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, so here it goes.
We're going to take it up a notch.
Yeah, we're going to tick it up 2 notches. But yeah, Scream is very meta. That's the word that everyone uses for it. It's very self-aware. I feel like it was the first really self-aware horror movie. I think there were horror movies that were a little bit self-aware here and there.
Yeah, of course. You had Friday the 13th. I mean, not Friday the 13th, sorry. Nightmare on Elm Street, where which one was the one that had like the actors play themselves? That one. That
you had that was one of the Nightmare on Elm Street sequels called A New Nightmare, Wes Craven's A New Nightmare. And yeah, that was kind of the beginning. That came out, I think, 2 years before Scream. And of course it was directed by Wes Craven, just like Scream. So clearly he was kind of getting into the idea of doing something like that. But I think a lot of the credit for the kind of self-aware, teen characters who are like talk way more intelligently than like the average teen probably talks, which is all Kevin Williamson's work, right?
Yeah. What is he known for? What has he done before, for those that might not know?
He did a little show called Dawson's Creek in the 90s and early 2000s, which was a show where basically all of the characters, and it made people like Katie Holmes and James Van Der Beek famous.
Yeah.
And that show was a show where like everyone basically just talked like they had like a Harvard PhD, except they were all playing like 16-year-olds.
Yeah. And of course, don't forget my favorite boo, Joshua Jackson.
Oh, I could not forget Joshua Jackson. Yes.
Quack, 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 quack. He was in Mighty Ducks.
Oh, okay. I did not get that reference. So that was just
but he was also
a fun moment for me.
Yeah, he was also in a show that I really loved years later called Fringe. Which
I've mentioned to you in the past. Fringe.
Yeah, you should watch it. If you like Lost and you like X-Files, you would definitely love like Fringe. But anyway, yes, you were saying Kevin Williamson.
Yeah, he's just a great writer. He wrote that kind of thing. He also wrote I Know What You Did Last Summer, another one which we should review on this podcast.
Oh, we should totally do that. Yeah. It's been a minute since I've seen that one, though.
I know. And that, by the way, Scream is, I think, a legitimately good movie. I Know What You Did Last Summer is like one of those great bad movies.
Yeah, I've heard that before. Like, I remember when I saw it the first time. Well, I don't remember. It's been such a long time, but the few memories that I have of it, it's just that, this, it's fun. It's whatever. It's a dumb, fun movie. Whereas Scream, yes, maybe some people will say the same thing. I don't agree with those opinions, but Scream is just like, it has more to say. Right? Not just about the movie itself, but just about the genre and slashers.
It does.
Yeah.
And it's smart and it's kind of witty. And the characters are all kind of making commentary about horror films the whole way through. That's kind of the whole point of Scream. And yet the funny thing is, even though that part of it is funny, right? Like it actually makes us kind of chuckle. At the same time, it is also in and of itself a scary movie. So there you go.
Yeah, no, 100%. It definitely has that very tense feeling when you're watching it, like a typical slasher movie, but it has way more to say about horror as a community. I mean, not the community, but like horror movies in general and the different slasher tropes. And they reinvent a lot of these slasher tropes, which we can talk about, when we're doing a horror movie recap. But for those of you who may not have seen Scream, which I don't know if anybody who listens to this podcast has never seen Scream. Come on. But the Scream franchise has, I believe, 6 films out right now. And there's a 7th one, which we will not see because we are supporting Melissa Barrera for being fired from Spyglass.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I know. But I do partially want to see it. Although I'm also mad that they killed off a certain character that I will not mention because I feel like that is a spoiler.
Yes. Well, if you're going to watch it, Tim, make sure you pirate it, the movie. Okay.
Okay. I won't give them any money.
Okay. So for those of you who have never, don't know much about Scream, what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be talking today a little bit about a horror movie recap of the movie Scream from our own perspectives, Lulu and Timmy, the 2 elves from Santa Claus's lab. If we have time, we'll talk about some fun facts, some Easter eggs in the movie, etc. But yeah, here's the trailer for Scream.
Hello?
Who is this?
You tell me your name, I'll tell you mine.
Why do you want to know my name?
I want to know who I'm looking at.
I am calling the police.
They never make it in time.
This is Gail Weathers with an exclusive.
Authorities are baffled.
Been warned by the killer.
It all began with a scream over 911, like the plot of some scary movie.
Hello, Sydney. Do you like scary movies?
What's the point? They're all the same. Some stupid killer stalking some big-breasted girl who can't act, who's always running up the stairs when she should be going out the front door. It's insulting.
There are certain rules that one must abide by in order to successfully survive a horror movie. Never, ever say, I'll be right back. Because you won't be back. Get another beer, you want one? Yeah, sure. I'll be right back.
Help me, somebody!
Not scared, are you?
So, Tim, for those folks who have never seen the movie Scream, and they're just, they're looking for, on their Apple podcast or Spotify, they're looking for a podcast to learn about loving myself and just my own itty bitty problems, and they type in itty bitty and they accidentally end up in itty bitty horror. And they're like, what?
Common mistake.
I've never heard of the movie Scream. Let me listen to what these 2 clowns are talking about. Can you tell that one listener and the other listeners what the movie Scream is about?
Yes, for anyone who doesn't know or doesn't remember or does remember and is just enjoying this podcast.
Yes.
A year after her mother's death, the character of Sydney Prescott, played by Neve Campbell, and her friends start experiencing some strange phone calls. They later learned the calls were coming from a crazed serial killer in a white-faced mask and a large black robe looking for revenge. His phone calls usually consist of many questions, the main one being, what's your favorite scary movie? Along with much scary movie trivia, ending with bloody pieces of innocent lives scattered around the small town of Woodsboro.
Ooh, Tim.
Ooh.
So what was your very first experience with the movie Scream?
My very first.
I know he says very. I mean very. Sorry, okay?
It's okay. Let's see. What was my very first? Oh, no. Well, I only judge you for one of those things.
Yes.
No, just kidding. Anyways, no, my first experience, I would say, I think I was in early high school, and I was just starting to really kind of become like a horror movie nerd. And I think that was the movie that made me want to. Well, I kind of did it backwards, actually, because I think I watched Scream before I ever watched Halloween or Nightmare on Elm Street. And then when they would reference those movies, I started to think, oh, there's a whole kind of fandom behind all this stuff. Oh, yeah, I should get into it. And then it was like kind of a rabbit hole that I went down, and I watched all of them, and I got really into, the whole genre. So this started it all.
Yeah, for sure. And so the movie came out obviously a year or so before you were even born. So you saw this like in the mid 2000s, maybe even like late 2000s, right? Like the 2010s, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. I think it might have been around like 2010 or so.
Yeah. So like when you saw it, obviously the internet was a huge thing now. Did you start like Googling like a lot of the facts or whatever about the movie itself? Or did you just like, you know what, I'm just going to watch the movie. You enjoyed it. Let me look up these other movies.
Yeah, I think it was one of those things where it was like an internet rabbit hole that I just started to Google about things. I just started to look stuff up about horror movies and how they were made. I was also kind of a film nerd even back then, so I was kind of interested in like making them. I thought it would be fun to like be a horror movie director. I also, of course, look up to Wes Craven, R.I.P. So yeah, that was kind of how it got started. I don't know. It was a lot of IMDb, kind of stuff.
Rabbit hole type stuff, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. What was yours?
Well, my own experience, by that time, I think I was already in high school. When the movie came out, I was, I believe, a freshman, I believe.
Wow.
And, no, I was in middle school, actually.
Liar.
No, I was.
You were in college.
I was already in my fourth year of my postdoctorate degree. But I don't remember the very first time I saw Scream. I think the very first time I did see it was probably renting it from like a Blockbuster.
Those were the days. I barely remember Blockbuster, but I do vaguely remember it as a little kid.
Yeah. Well, okay. So like for me, I remember my parents would take us to Blockbuster, and we would they already had the movies they had in mind, what they wanted to rent. But as they
were about to consult you.
Yeah, they were going to ask me like, hey, little Louie, what do you want to watch? I'm like, I want to watch, Barbie Goes to Heaven or whatever.
Barbie Goes to Heaven.
Yeah, they were going to be like, fuck off. And then I guess choose what I want. But as I got older, my friends and I would go to Blockbuster, even get a little Blockbuster card. And damn it, I wish I still had it because I think I can sell it on eBay. I had a Blockbuster card, and I would go there, pick a movie or several. And yeah, I think that's where I probably first saw the movie Scream. And I don't remember what year it was, but I do remember liking it. And just, I did not get the references at all, like it being meta, that concept of a meta film. I was like, oh, they're talking about this other films or whatnot, but
right. Yeah. And by the way, I bet you found the movie in the section of Blockbuster that had beaded curtains in front of it.
No, it wasn't that type of video store. Calm down.
It was.
They had a horror section out and proud. And then I went to the beaded section. I was like, excuse me, you can't go there. You're not 18. I'm like, what?
What? Oh, I'm lost.
I'm confused. I thought this was the horror section. It's like, sir. And then like an old overweight pervert came out with like greasy hair and like glasses with fingerprints on his lens. He's like, oh, that was a good one. And I was like,
no.
What's going on there? Can I check it out? Anyway, but yeah, that was my experience with Scream and Blockbuster.
Yeah, those were the days. And by the way, can I just say, the thing about Scream, which I love, is it's so 90s. It's one of the most 90s things that you can like find. I feel like if you're like a person who, like me, doesn't remember the 90s because you were barely alive then, or if you're just someone who wants to reminisce about the 90s, I feel like Scream is one of the most, like, it just perfectly encapsulates kind of the vibe of the time. Like the fact that one of the characters is kind of like Quentin Tarantino, that he works at the video store, and the fact that was all the movie trivia, and the fact that, you know what I mean? And all of the outfits they're wearing, and the fact that they're also kind of like cynical, and they're all just talking nonstop about all these different movies they've seen. Because of course it was the era of VHS, and prior to that era, I feel like people didn't quote movies as much because you didn't have VHS tapes.
Yeah, you also didn't have the internet where you would learn a lot about the inner workings of, a specific horror movie or
Yeah.
Unless you were like super very into horror movies and you're like, oh, this movie references this and it does that and whatnot. But like, where would you be able to put that out unless it was like a personal blog or an online journal, maybe?
Right.
But it wasn't something that you could like distribute to other folks for them to also take in.
Yeah.
To be able to like, oh, yeah, this is true. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know you're right. So what I want to do next, Tim, is I want to go straight into a recap of the movie Scream. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
Okay. Listeners, are you ready? So, the movie opens. I have it titled here, Intro Scene with Drew Barrymore.
Oh.
The movie opens, Tim, with a phone ringing, and Drew Barrymore answers the phone. The caller, on the other side says hello to her. They have a little exchange where Drew tells him he has the wrong number and hangs up on him. She walks to the kitchen to make some popcorn, and the phone rings again. Of course, he continues to be coy. He hears her making popcorn, and she tells him, he's like, what are you doing? She's like, making popcorn. And she tells him she's about to watch a scary movie. And then he goes like, well, which one? And she goes like, Halloween. Which, by the way,
making her sound way more high pitched, and you're making him sound way more cheerful than he sounds.
I know I am. Sorry.
Which one?
Which one, girl? And she's just like, Halloween. Which is FYI for our listeners, we did cover Halloween on an episode of the podcast for Halloween, legit, the week before Halloween.
Itty Bitty Horror episode 19. Check it out after this dumb episode.
It was great. You should check it out.
Check it out,
listeners.
Please. Yes, but they go back and forth, Tim. And then she says, why do you want to know my name, baby?
She does not say baby.
No? And he goes, because I want to know who I'm looking at. Dum, dum, dum.
Dum, dum, dum. And then she says, what? And he says, I said I want to know who I'm talking to, but we know the truth. We know what he said.
Yeah, he wants to just, he's already looking at her. So, of course, she hangs up on him because she's a little scared, obviously.
Honestly, a lot scared.
At that point, wouldn't you just call the cops? As soon as he said
yes. Okay, but this is what everyone says watching this movie is, I would have called it. I would have called the cops. I would have called the cops. You know what? You don't know what you would do. I don't want to hear it.
Okay.
No, you don't. No one knows what they would do in those circumstances unless you've been through it. You just don't know.
Okay, sorry. Well, this is why you would get murdered.
Hey.
Because you said you wouldn't call the cops.
I'm not saying... Hey, I'm not saying I wouldn't call them. I'm just saying you don't know what you would do when you're under those kinds of circumstances.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. I mean, I would call the cops because I'm not stupid.
Okay. Yeah.
Just kidding.
Great.
So he calls again, and she goes, listen, asshole. Cuts her off. It says, no, you listen, you little bitch. You hang up on me, and I'll gut you like a fish. Understand?
Oh, that was pretty good, actually.
Yes, thank you. She tells him, she's like, listen, I'm 2 seconds away from calling the police. Let's just do it, girl. And then he tells her he wants to see what her insides look like. Of course.
Yeah.
And she
that is funny.
That is funny. And she just hangs
It's not funny.
No, it's not funny, but like, she's like, you know what? I don't want to deal with this. I'm just going to hang up the phone right now.
But she does, okay, well, I'm going to reverse exactly what I just told you. But she does keep answering the phone, which is a little like, maybe just don't.
Yeah, like, honestly, girl, I mean, if he did say, I want to know who I'm looking at, it's kind of like, okay, well, he's near me, so I want to make sure he's not going to, I don't know. It's not like he's an ethical killer. He's like, oh, no, I'm not going to harm you unless I tell you before.
No, yeah. She should have, maybe she should have called the cops. No,
I'm telling you. Yeah, well, the doorbell rings. Well, the popcorn is burning in the background, by the way.
Yes, it's on fire. It's Jiffy Pop.
Money. Jiffy Pop, is that a brand?
Yeah, don't you remember Jiffy Pop? It was such a thing. You would put it on the stove in like, it had like a fake little pan, and you would put it on the stove, and as it would pop and the popcorn would grow, then the foil would like expand and get really big. And I feel like I don't even see it in stores anymore. Like, I don't even know if they have it, but I remember making it.
I feel like I only know about that because of the movie Scream.
I totally made that.
Well, maybe you are Drew Barrymore and you're about to be next to him.
No, at least I have a talk show.
Exactly. So he calls her again and she tells him, like, you better stop or my boyfriend's going to be pissed. And he says, I didn't think you had a boyfriend. And she says she lied. I thought you didn't have a boyfriend, Blondie. And she goes like, oh, I lied. And
Ooh.
he's like, God doesn't like liars.
No way, he doesn't say that. He's not also a religious fanatic.
Yeah, he is. He's a Latter-day Saint person. Anyway, and then she says that she lied, and he goes like, his name wouldn't happen to be Steve. And of course she's freaked out because that's her boyfriend. And then he's like, turn on the lights. She turns it on, and Steve is out there tied with his Letterman jacket, by the way.
I know, kind of a cliche.
Yeah, trying to represent a stereotypical like, jock type thing, man, whatever.
I know. I guess they felt like they had to put him in a Letterman jacket just to be like, hey, see, get it?
Yes. But he tells her he wants to play a game, a horror movie game, Tim.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he asked her, like, if you get it right, Steve lives. And then he goes, name the killer of the original Friday the 13th. Honestly, Tim, would you have gotten that right? Or
you know I would have. Are you kidding me? How much do we talk about Betsy Palmer on this freaking podcast?
Okay, never mind. You would have gotten it right. Wait, but do you think... in the heat of the moment, like with the adrenaline, excuse me, you think that you would have been like really, really like, wait, do you mean part 1 or part 2? Like, do you have follow?
Are you talking about part 5 when Jason had already died, but before he had been resurrected?
But it was really Roy, the paramedic, and he goes,
be like,
"Right, you got me."
And imagine I get it right. He's like, oh, yeah, that's right.
Exactly the one I was talking about. Damn it. Okay, fine. Let him go. Steve, you're free.
Then they run off into the bushes.
Yes, and they like, wee, holding hands and knives. But
yeah.
So she says, Jason, it's Jason. And he goes, sorry, Kitty, you're wrong. He doesn't say that. No, he goes, sorry, Blondie. No, he goes, nope, that's the wrong answer. Because it turns out it was a trick question. And the original killer is our bestie, Tim, Pamela Voorhees, a.k.a. Betsy Palmer.
Oh, I know it, but she didn't know.
I feel like I would have gotten it wrong, not because I'm like not aware of my horror knowledge, but I think with the adrenaline, like I mentioned, I probably would have said like, oh, Jason, he's the killer, Friday the 13th. Hello. But no. Yeah. Betsy Palmer, Tim.
You would have said hello to him, like mocking him slightly.
Yeah, of course. And he would have been like, this fucking asshole.
Like, you know what? The game is over. You're just a jerk.
And I'm just going to kill you. Exactly. So the lights go out outside and you hear Steve in pain. And of course, when the lights turn on, he's the one gutted like a fish. His innards are spilling out of his body, Tim.
I know. It's sad.
He was cute too.
I didn't really see him, to be honest. But I think he had like a giant blindfold, or not a blindfold, tape over his mouth.
Yeah, he had tape over his mouth. He was a little bloody. But from what I could see, he looked cute. But,
oh, well.
And then he goes, next question. He asks her, what door am I in? And before she even answered, he just throws a chair through the glass window.
Yeah.
And
he's not patient.
No, he's like, what door am I in? Here you go, bitch. Fucking,
this door,
bitch. This is where I am. And she's like, she starts to run with her phone in her hand, of course, and the popcorn in the background in flames. She goes outside to hide from Ghostface, and then she sees him running around inside the house, kind of like a little cartoon character. And,
no, it's actually a scary scene.
No, it's scary for sure, but like the way he's running, he's just like turning sideways, like, where is this bitch?
I know. And, I have to say, can I just cut in real quick?
Yeah, of course.
One interesting thing about this movie, which actually I think makes it even more scary, is unlike all of the other slasher movie killers, which, let's be honest, like Jason, Freddy, Michael Myers, all of them, they all walk, right? Like zombies, right? They all walk towards you, and we're just supposed to believe that the people running from them are, tripping over themselves and falling over and whatever, you know what I mean? But this guy like runs after you the way an actual person would run after you, and he like falls on things and he throws things at you and he just tries to like get a hold. Like, it's actually kind of scary because it feels kind of, I don't know, realistic,
Yeah, it feels too real because, as you mentioned, like Jason, Michael Myers, whoever, Freddy Krueger, whatever, they're all like just slowly walking towards you before they kill you. Whereas this guy is like a real person, and he's just a little goofy sometimes. He trips over himself. He gets, and he seems like he's killable, I guess.
Yeah, and, but also he seems like he's a real person. That's kind of creepy to me.
Yeah, of course. That's always scarier than like a fake monster type thing.
Yeah.
So she sees him running around the house, and then she turns around and sees a car driving to her house from afar. Obviously, we don't know this, but it's her parents. And when she turns back, it's Ghostface, and he breaks the window to grab her. She hits him, and he falls over, like you were talking about earlier. She runs towards the car and stops by for a little bit. I'm like, girl, don't fucking stop. If it was my life, and my life depended on this, like, I don't give a fuck how out of breath I am. I'm gonna continue running.
I know. She pauses for a sec, like, maybe they'll just see me right now.
And then Ghostface jumps her.
I know.
Yeah. He then stabs her on the chest as she kicks him in his ghost balls as he's trying to choke her.
Yes, that's true.
Yes. So she's still like, even though she got stabbed in the chest, it's probably like a small wound, maybe. I don't know. But she sees her parents walking into the house and she tries to scream for them, Tim. But her voice is strained from all that screaming, so she starts to crawl over, and then Ghostface turns her around, and as she's about to remove his mask, he stabs her.
Oh, man.
Didn't you feel like, this is how I feel still to this day. Every time I see this movie, there's still a little part of me like, oh, girl, you're going to make it. You're going to make it. Do you know? That's the power of this movie, of this intro. Like, I still feel, there's a little part of me, even though I know what happens. Like, girl, you're almost there. Like, you're gonna get to your parents, they're gonna save you. Like, I know that's not what happens, but I just feel like there's a small part of me that feels that way.
No, me too. I know. And the fact that it's Drew Barrymore too, because you really think she's gonna be the main character, because she's like the most famous, or I guess the second most famous actress in this whole movie.
Yeah.
Like,
I think she was the most famous. I think she was the most famous at that time because she had been leading, like, she was leading movies.
Yeah,
or is everybody else
was already there?
But yeah, so I still feel that way for her. I was like, oh, girl, you're almost there. You're almost there. But anyway.
I know.
The parents are finally inside the house, and the house is covered in smoke from the popcorn. They start to freak out, and the mother picks up the phone to call the police. As she picks up the phone, she hears Drew Barrymore's, character gasping for air, saying, oh! I'm saying it that way.
Oh.
I don't know if my mic will pick it up.
Yeah, no, I heard it.
Oh, okay. The mother freaks out, and the father tells her, like, go to the Mackenzies, which, for those of you who don't know, it's a Halloween reference. And when she goes outside to go to the Mackenzies, she sees her daughter, Tim, a.k.a. Drew Barrymore, hanging from the tree with her guts spilling out.
Oh.
And boom! The title cards appear for Scream.
Ooh.
What do you think of this opening?
It's such a famous opening. It really puts you right in the moment. Like, you know exactly what this movie's going to be about. Yeah. And I feel like that's also isn't that like the goriest kill in the entire Scream series? I feel like it is.
I think it is, actually, because they don't show everything, but like.
It kind of do a little bit, though, for like a second.
Well, I mean, like, they don't show like when the stabs are going in and the guts are coming out, but like when she's hanging from a tree and her guts are spilling out, like, that is not something that we've seen in a Scream movie. Not that I can remember off the top of my head. Like, nothing as gory as that.
Not really. Or even if they do have something like that later, they don't have a ton like that. Like, most of the kills outside of that in these movies are just like, knife going in, person going, ugh.
Yeah, or like if they are stabbing and they show you the stab, it's still not as gory as other ones. Because I'm thinking, like, for example, like Scream 5, I think that was the requel. Stabbing that cutie patootie. I don't remember his name, but he has the dyed blonde hair, and he just got out of the shower and he gets stabbed in the face, like, very slowly. But it still doesn't have the impact of seeing Drew Barrymore's carcass hanging from a tree with her intestines out and about, just chilling, like, oh, we're just here to go vacation. Anyway.
No, but they weren't.
Yeah, they weren't. So Tim, so you like that opening? It's still really good, right?
It's a good I mean, it's scary, but yeah, it's a classic, like, opening that I feel like you never forget. And for some reason, it's so ingrained in all of our minds, right? Like her blonde bob hair that looks like Uma Thurman from Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, except blonde. Yeah, you're right. I think it's also like impactful in the sense that many folks, obviously they did this before with Psycho, but like Psycho had a longer sequence, I guess, like 30 minutes in before the main character dies. But the fact that Drew Barrymore's character dies within the first like 8-10 minutes is something that people were not expecting, because they saw her on the posters and like, okay, she is the main star of the movie Scream.
Right.
No, she's not. Like, I can see people who
it makes you feel like no one is safe.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, oh, if they killed the quote unquote main character, then nobody is safe.
Yeah.
So from there, Tim, we move into Sydney's bedroom, my cat.
Your cat is named Sydney Prescott, for anyone who's listening who does not know this.
Oh, yeah. My cat, I adopted cat.
Oh, no, her name is Neve Campbell.
No, my cat's name is Sydney.
Oh, okay, it's Sydney Prescott. Okay, that's right.
It's Sydney Prescott, Sigourney Weaver. But anyway.
Love him.
Yeah. We cut to a new character typing on her computer. It's Neve Campbell as Sydney, obviously. She's typing her little Indigo Girls lyrics because she's a lesbian, I think. I always think she's a lesbian.
Did you watch Alonda Parker's review before this?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Because that's what I thought of too. I was like, wait a minute. He's referencing the Indigo Girls poster. I know what he's thinking of.
Alonda, you saved us. Yes. Her boyfriend climbs through the window and boo, boogie, boogie, boo, boo, he says to her.
He does not say that.
Yeah, so just picture it like Neve Campbell typing on her computer, her ancient 96 desktop Macintosh, whatever.
Her and giant manila computer that has a bunch of wires in it and probably a glowing blue screen.
Yeah, and it's like she's typing right there, and then you just see some eyes pop out behind the windowsill. You just see somebody pop up, and it's Billy, her boyfriend.
Skeet Ulrich.
And he goes, boogie, boogie, boo, boo.
He does
baby.
not.
It's me, girly.
He doesn't do that.
No, I thought
you're lying. You're lying to the listener.
Sorry, listen to that one listener who has not seen the movie. Sorry, that's not what happens. He climbs in and he scares her, and of course she screams. And her father walks in because he heard screaming. And after that, is settled. She's like, "Oh no, I was masturbating and you caught me when I came or something." I don't know. He tells her that he's leaving on a work trip, aka mini vacation with a new mistress. I'm pretty sure. And she's like, okay, cool. Like, well, have fun, blah, blah, blah. He leaves, and then Billy and her start talking for a little bit. He says, hey, I came over because I was watching The Exorcist, and it reminded me of her, or it reminded me of you.
Yeah.
What right off the bat. You were dating. Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say right off the bat, they are making Billy the creepiest guy on the planet. I was watching The Exorcist and thinking of you.
Also, like, even if you were like, oh, I don't mean because... it was whatever his original reasoning was. It's like, you're watching The Exorcist as a child, though.
Well, all of it, any part of The Exorcist, even if he was watching the beginning, like it doesn't make.
Oh, I just really liked the music, and it reminded me of you. Like, no,
no,
you mean the
creepy,
the chanting and
like
the dogs barking. Like, come on. So Billy says that they started hot and heavy, and now that they play it safe, which is bullshit because like. She doesn't owe you sex, basically.
Yes, that's right. But Billy really wants it, and she doesn't. And it's a classic conundrum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no.
That's my addition to that commentary.
Thanks for that 1 penny.
Yeah, you're welcome.
They start to make out for a little bit, very PG. But then he agrees to leave, and she's like, would you settle for a PG relationship?
No. She says, would you settle for a PG-13 relationship?
Oh, yeah. He says, would you settle for a rated G relationship? Just kidding.
No.
I'm going even further down. So, would you settle for a PG-13 relationship? And he goes like, what's that? And she goes like, oh, let me take out my binder of stickers from the Land Before Time. Do you like these? And he goes like, oh, God, I need to kill this bitch.
Oh,
no. She flashes her titties. And he smirks. Is he not impressed?
And listeners, she actually does do that last one. That is not one of Luis's many gags.
No, she flashes her boobs, and he just smirks. He's like, wait, but did he like it or no?
I don't know because it's off camera, so we don't actually see it. So any listeners who are going to go look up that scene, just know.
No, he does.
No, he sees it, but we don't see it.
Oh, no, we don't see Sydney's boobs at all, but...
Because I feel like that would actually make it an R relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if we saw it, exactly. But then he goes like, okay, girly, I'm taking off since you're not going to give me your little pooty tang.
Oh, my God.
So we move on to the next day. It's at school. And we see Courtney Cox, a.k.a. Gail Weathers. I think she's my favorite character, honestly. One of my favorite.
The whole series, she's the best character. I'm just going to tell everyone that right now. And you don't get an opinion on this. Anyone listening, she is the best. You know she is.
It's a fact. It's not an opinion.
The fact. Look it up in the dictionary. It's just true.
If you look up the word fact, you will see a picture of Courtney Cox as Gail Weathers, listed as best character in Scream. But yes,
in her neon green suit that she wears in this movie for some reason.
Yeah, with a little power suit, complete with her little mic and cute bangs. Before they fucked it up in the sequels.
Yeah, well, just the third movie. Don't look that up. That's all.
Yeah, not yet. But we see a slew of TV reporters reporting on the deaths of Steve and Casey. Again, couldn't remember the names, so now I know. Steve and Casey are the two characters that died at the beginning of the movie. Sydney's friend Tate starts to tell her all the tea of all the folks that died, and she's like, "Oh my god, did you hear about who died and so and so?" And this is the worst murder in the town's history, even worse than. But then she stops herself because she doesn't want to go into it yet. But the fact that you're gossiping about potential, like maybe not friends, but classmates' deaths feels very morbid.
It really does. The way they talk about all the deaths and stuff in this movie, and the way all like the teens are like, "Oh yeah, she was gutted from stem to stern." You're just like, "Ew." Like, when have you heard anyone say that?
Never. Like, I mean, thank God we never went through any of that. Like when we worked together, you and I, Tim, in terms of like somebody like passing. Knock on wood, right?
Well, God, yeah.
But if they did, we would never talk about it this way. Like if they went through this, like it's like, who talks like this?
No, I know. It's so weird. I mean, I guess they're trying to be like, oh, everyone's so cynical. And I mean, in fairness, I do feel like in the 90s, there was kind of this like, don't you feel like, I mean, okay, you might be able to comment on this more than me, but I feel like in the 90s, like with the O.J. Simpson case and like all the things, I feel like everyone just got kind of like cynical and they would like joke about these things that were actually pretty dark. Don't you feel like that was kind of a thing back then? Like, weren't there so many jokes about the O.J. case and you know what I mean? And like,
I think,
people had died, but people were just making jokes.
I'm pretty sure. Like, I wasn't really aware of that because I really wasn't into the news type of stuff. But like, I would think so. It's kind of the same thing that happens today. Not that I, but like the people who died in the submarine, those billionaires, and people are making jokes back and forth, or like the CEO from United Healthcare who got shot down, and people are just like, oh, making jokes. Again, I'm not gonna go into that because I'm pretty sure you don't need. If you're a listener, you probably know where we fall under. But the point is that people are just very desensitized. Excuse me. To like death and whatnot. They talk about this type of stuff, and that's the way they were talking about it even since the 90s. I don't know.
Yeah, I honestly think it began in the 90s. It was kind of like a cynical way of talking about things that were dark because people were seeing so much of it in like, I don't know, news and stuff like that. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, so then we cut to Sydney being in class, and the teacher tells Sydney, hey, it's your turn to talk to the cops. No grief counselors, by the way, or anything. It's just like, you need to go talk to the cops right now. Henry Winkler plays the principal, Tim, for this school.
I know that. And he's Fonzie.
He's Fonzie. Yes, the Fonz.
Happy Days.
Yeah.
Which is a show that I've never fully watched, but I do know the character.
Same, seriously. The Fonz. I don't know because of Friends.
Yeah. I mean, it's a character that always gets referenced, but like, it's not really our show.
Yeah, it's not from our time. Yeah, but I mean, I did know about the show before Friends, but I know it more because they referenced the Fonz. Yeah. But anyway, they ask her some questions about Casey and how she's feeling. There's nothing there. She's just like, well, I didn't really know the bitch, so I'm fine. She didn't say that. But then we cut. Imagine if she was like, I didn't know the bitch.
I didn't know the bitch.
Wait,
anyway.
You're actually suspect number one now.
Yeah, you all of a sudden went right to our list.
Yeah, you're at the top of the list. But then we cut to the whole gang. Sydney, played by Neve Campbell, as Tim mentioned earlier. Tate, played by Rose McGowan. Billy, played by Skeet. How do you say his last name?
Is it Ulrich?
Ulrich? Yeah.
I don't know. Skeet Ulrich.
Skeet Ulrich, yes.
Semi-good looking guy in this movie.
Oh, he is good looking, actually.
Okay, I'll say good looking then. I don't know why I said semi.
Yeah. Stu, played by Matthew Lillard, and then Randy, played by Jamie Kennedy. They're all sitting at the water fountain just discussing the murder of Stephen Casey. They started talking about what it would take to kill someone that badly, and Stu, like you mentioned earlier, Tim, was like, oh yeah, it takes the work of a man. And then how would you even do that? It's like, oh, from what did you say, from sternum stomach to sternum, whatever,
stem to stern or something like that. Like,
yeah,
this like words like he's a freaking butcher.
Yeah, he works at a fucking meat shop or something.
Yeah, I don't know, it's gross and weird, but I mean it's supposed to be, I guess. We're supposed to start to suspect like everyone in the movie.
Yeah, there's a lot of red herrings in this film, but there's a lot of back and forth banter about what it takes. Oh, you're being a misogynist, etc., etc. All of this is just making Sydney very uncomfortable, obviously.
Yeah, because for reasons in her personal life, which we will soon learn.
Yes. Well, going into that, we then move on to Sydney's character going back home. She takes the bus, and she has a big fucking beautiful house in the hills. Like,
what did he do? Whatever he was off doing on his business trips, apparently it pays really well because she has like this amazing huge house in the hills in like Northern California or something.
Yeah. You know how much that shit would cost you right now?
Oh my God. I mean, even in the 90s, I feel like I don't know what he did, but yeah, now that house would be easily like $5 million.
Yeah, somehow. And she's going to public school. Come on.
I know.
But she's got off the bus. She's going home. Obviously, she's alone for the weekend. Remember, her father's out of town. And she talks with Tate about staying over since her dad won't be there for the rest of the week. She's watching some TV, and as they're talking about the recent murders of Stephen Casey, one of the shows references last year's murder where Sydney's mom was the victim, Tim.
I know that, Luis.
Oh, I'm just saying it so you can tell our one listener who has not watched Scream what we're talking about.
Well, it's yeah, I mean, you basically said it. It's a sad little backstory of Neve Campbell's character because her mom was killed, in fact, and there's a man who is in prison for it currently named Cotton Weary.
Yes. So she sees the TV reporter, whatever, saying that, you know, oh, this is the worst case since Sydney's mom died. She didn't say Sydney's mom, but since so-and-so. But if you, again, just to go back in the very beginning where Tate was like, oh, they're saying this is the worst murder since, and then she stops herself. She was going to reference, obviously, Sydney's mom, but she's like, you know what, maybe I won't call her. But Sydney decides, like, you know what, fuck this. She looks at her picture of her mom. Yeah. And then she's like, you know what, let me just take a nap right now, which is fair. I would do that too. I would be like, you know what, I want to deal with this shit right now. I'm just going to take a nap. But
I guess.
Yeah. Well, later that night, Tim, her phone rings. But it's Tate! Yeah, so you did that sound effect for no reason.
It sounded like you said, but it's taint.
Oh, it's taint. Tate's taint. Like, how are you? Yo, I want to eat some soup.
Oh my God.
She tells her that she's running late and that she's on her way. And I'm like, girl, like, after everything that's happening, you're just lollygagging.
Is lollygagging.
Lollygagging, yeah. She tells her that she's going to stop by the video store first and then go to her place. And she mentions something about pausing the tape that she wants to rent because she wants to see Tom Cruise's penis.
Yeah, I think that's all the right moves.
But yes, but like this.
How do I know that?
90s
Well, it doesn't matter.
You paused it so many times. I was gonna say, I don't know. I know Tom Cruise was like considered like a heartthrob back then, and who am I to say? But like, I don't know. I've never been personally attracted to Tom Cruise.
I feel like there was a time when I thought he was more attractive. Now I just feel like I know too much about him.
Yeah, because you can be older and still be sexy. There's Clint Eastwood. Just kidding.
He's like pretty old.
No, I'm trying to list. No, there's like older men who are attractive for sure. But like, I think,
oh yeah, name one. I'm just kidding. Of course, yes. Well, you're right.
What age is old? I don't know. Like Matthew McConaughey, he's like in his 50s. I mean, that's not old, I know, but you know.
No, you're right about this. I'm being sarcastic. Anyway,
Daniel Craig.
Okay,
anyway,
we're gonna do this.
Yes, we're gonna go down to the name me 20 people, Tim, that you think of anyway. But yes, so she's like, I'll be right there. I'll bring some tapes and some popcorns, and we'll bring some twin dildos and play with each other. The phone rings again, Tim, and this time it's the killer.
No.
Except she doesn't know it's the killer. She thinks it's Randy. Right. That damn Randy. He's such a clown. People are just like automatically thinking it's him. Doesn't that mean that he's always been a dumbass, like a little clown?
It does. It means that.
Yeah, I believe it. The caller asks her, do you like scary movies? I say it and it sounds like I'm doing a parody of the Scary Movie Ghostface. Like
a
parody.
I know.
Anyway,
I didn't think we were going to talk about this early, but for those of you who don't know, Scary Movie, the movie called Scary Movie, was kind of a parody of Scream and other horror movies.
It was totally Scream.
It was mostly Scream.
And I Know What You Did Last Summer. Yes, you're right.
Yeah. And The Matrix and lots of
those
things.
of you who don't know, but the movie Scream was originally going to be called Scary Movie, but they decided to go with the movie Scream. Anyway.
That would be like too self-aware.
Yeah. So he says, like, do you like scary movies? And she says, what's the point? They're all some stupid killer stalking some big-breasted girl who can't act, who's always running up the stairs when she should be running out of the front door. It's insulting, or something like that.
Hey, Jamie Lee Curtis had normal-sized boobs. Actually, I don't know if that's
She never had
true.
her boobs out, though.
Oh, yes, she did. Not in that movie.
Not in that movie. Maybe Trading Places.
Yes. Well, okay. You named the exact one. Yes.
Well, I'm only going off because they say that in the movie Scream. But anyway, she tells Randy, quote unquote, to stop with the bullshit. Then he says, I'm not Randy. And she says, it's not who I am, but like, where am I? And she's like, well, where are you? He goes to front porch, excuse me. And I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, well, I'm not going to go there. Like, didn't your mother just die? And now 2 students, why are you listening to a random person on the phone and following their direction?
I know. And by the way, can I ask you this? Because as someone who remembers the 90s vividly.
Damn,
come on.
My lower back hurts.
No, come on.
My teeth are falling out.
No, come on.
A weak bladder. Okay, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, back then, okay, this is like pre-caller ID, right? So when your phone rings, you don't know who it is, which I know it's like
we had
part
caller
of
ID in the
all of us.
90s.
No, not at this point, because everyone's got those giant white phones with the huge antenna.
Okay.
You're thinking of like the late 90s. This is like mid-90s.
Maybe. Yeah, you're right. Okay.
Okay, a lot of people, let's put it, a lot of people didn't have it, okay?
Okay, yes.
So that happens, right? And the phone rings. I feel like maybe you are more likely to like pick it up and like talk to the person who's on it. I don't know.
No, I mean, when the phone would ring, I would always go answer it, or we would all run to the phone to answer it because we didn't know who it was. And we would just be like, "Hello, who?
Who is this?
Billy for Black Christmas? What do you want?
Olivia Hussey.
I want to sniff your or whatever he says.
Bleep that.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, we would run to the to the phone and pick up because we didn't know who it was and we wanted to know. But you're right, different times. She goes out and starts to pick her. Oh yeah, she says like, "Oh, I'm here at the front porch. What am I doing?" And she starts to pick her nose. And she's like, "Okay, well, anyway, Randy, make sure you bring over the movies. I know what you did last summer." Just kidding. And then he interrupts her. He's like, "If you hang up on me, you'll die just like your mother."
Oh.
And she tells him to go fuck himself. And then he pops out of the closet with a knife to him.
Oh, I believe she says, F you, you cretin, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, she says something like that. Yeah, and then he just
cretin?
like, you cretin? Is that what he says?
She says, you cretin. And I'm like, are you from the 1940s?
You big scallywag.
You scally. I feel like, man, what if Wes Craven like had to say? Because he was kind of old, I think, at the time. Even maybe he was like, "Oh, I know what every teen girl says when she's saying something mean. She says, you cretin."
Yes, and then Kevin Williamson like took the pen away from him. He's like, "Let me write it.
Let me write it.
I know what they say." He's like, "Oh, please, just give me this one line." He's like, "Fine,
we'll leave it in. You cretin." So that's what we got.
Exactly. But he jumps out of the closet ready to stab her, and she of course like trips him, and she tries to go out the front door, but she of course locked it, and there's not enough time to open it, so she runs up where
the stairs with her big breasts
with her big breasts just running around, flopping all over the place. She goes to her
room. Floppity flop, right?
Yeah. She goes to her room. Yeah. She goes to her room and opens her closet door, which blocks the front doors. The killer is swinging his knife at her through the door crack, which is apparently big enough. She goes to her computer and dials 911 to ask for help. And she goes, "White woman in trouble." Oh, wait, no, that's scary. A little bit of scary movie seeping in here. But the killer is gone by that time, and as she's waiting, her boyfriend just randomly pops out of the window to hug her. Imagine if I were in a traumatic situation and then out of nowhere the guy I'm dating just pops us like, "Hey, are you okay?" Like, what the fuck? What are you doing here?
I want to hug all of a sudden through your window.
Oh, well, yeah. And apparently he's there to see how she is. As they hug, he drops a cell phone.
Yeah, in slow motion.
Cell phone. Yeah, not a cell phone though.
Oh, a cell phone with a giant antenna.
Yeah, this was the 90s, so I guess not everybody had one. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. She's probably like, "Wow, this guy's rich."
Yeah, he has a phone.
I'm dating a cool guy.
Yeah. She runs down the stairs, of course, afraid of her boyfriend now because he has a cell phone.
I know. He's too advanced.
It's too advanced. Away from him, she opens the front door and there's the ghost face mask staring at her and she screams. It turns out it's that dumbass cop Dewey, played by
holding
David
it up with his hand, and she didn't look around the mask. She just looked directly at it. And
exactly. And
easy mistake.
Yeah, as she screams, he goes as well. For some
he's
reason,
just as scared.
He's just a dumbass. Played by David Arquette, by the way.
Who I know I said Courtney Cox is the best. He is the second best, I think.
I think he.
You probably think Randy's the next best.
Oh no, he's not. He's annoying, actually.
Oh, I kind of like Randy, but I feel like Dewey is my next favorite, and of course the little love story that comes later, and I won't spoil.
Yeah, true. Okay, fine. So they arrest Billy Loomis, and boom, that motherfucker's in jail now. Yeah,
his greasy hair now matching the surroundings.
Yeah. So then we cut to Courtney Cox, aka Gail Weathers. We'll refer her to as Gail Weathers from now on. Is out there.
You know it's Courtney Cox.
Yeah, but I don't know why she's out there. And she asks her cameraman to follow her and hit record. Like, hey, I'm going to interview Sydney. Again, how the hell did she end up outside of that house? I have no idea. But
I don't know, but they're all there, and she's an investigative reporter and a top journalist, and she wrote the book about Sydney's mom's murder, much to Sydney's anger.
Yes. And she's
a slimy journalist.
She's a slimy journalist, typical kind, yeah. And she's asking Tate what happened, but she doesn't answer. Then when she leaves, her cameraman finally turns on the camera, and she goes, Kenny, I know that you're about 50 pounds overweight, but when I say hurry, I mean move your fat tub of lard ass now. Oh. Do you think this is the way she speaks to Chandler Bing?
To who?
To Chandler
Bing.
Chandler Bong.
To Mr. Chandler Bong. Yes, I think she does say that to him, because if you notice, Chandler's weight fluctuates throughout Friends, so I suspect she said that at some point.
Okay, he was going through some drug stuff. How dare you? May he rest in peace.
Oh, well, okay, now I feel like a jerk, and you get your little moment of fame.
Mm-hmm.
feels good, probably.
It does. Just kidding, Timmy boy. We cut to the police station, and Dewey is there trying to find her father, but to no avail. Obviously, he can't find him at the hotel that he was supposed to stay at. She doesn't know where he is. No one does.
Dewey's also kind of a dumb cop, in fairness. Right? He's kind of dumb. Like, he doesn't really know what he's doing.
I think he's more like childlike, I think, no?
Yeah, you're right, he is. But I feel like, you don't feel very safe in his hands. He feels like he's trying to prove himself.
No. Like, if I were in danger, I would not want him as my detail or whatever it's called, the security detail, because he would probably be the one to kill me.
Well,
he would accidentally shoot his gun at me.
Oh, accidentally, you mean? Yes.
Yeah. The police chief, in the meantime, is interviewing Billy, asking him, what the hell he was doing at Sydney's house at that exact time, and what are you doing with a cellular telephone? Yeah. So David,
what the hell is that?
What are you doing with this cellular? What are you doing this concoction right here? What is this?
What is this mobile device? There's no cord attached.
It doesn't work. How do you do it? It's like, it's a cell phone, chief. He's like, I'm the sheriff, I said, not the chief. I don't say it right now. The cop asks him what he was doing at Sydney's again the previous night. It doesn't even seem like Billy's father even knew he was out. He's like, I didn't kill anybody. And you just look at Billy's father, and he looks like, oh, wait, did you? I don't know.
I know. Billy's father's like, ooh, maybe you did.
Maybe you did. I should leave right now. But
maybe that's what all this music is teaching you.
Yeah. That's all this rock and roll.
Yeah.
Making you all killery.
Murderous. Yeah.
Killery Clinton. Oh my gosh. That sounded really not right.
Not a political point.
No. I'm just like no, it's like Hillary. Anyway. Oh yeah, didn't they used to call it Hillary? I don't know. It's so stupid. I'm a Democrat. Okay, and I'm just making dumb jokes. Okay, forgive me. Tate tells her brother Dewey. For those of you who don't know, Tate, aka Sydney's friend, is the sister of Dewey, the cop. Just for you that don't know.
Dewey the 14th.
Dewey the 14th. The hell are you talking about?
I'm just doing the game we were doing. Hillary Clinton, Dewey the 14th.
Oh yeah, that's true. Tate tells her brother Dewey, hey, we're gonna go through the back to avoid reporters because, they're just being nosy. They're nosy Nancy's.
Yeah.
But then we cut to the back of the police station, and Gail Weathers is there trying to find the perfect spot to interview Sydney, but there's just a shit ton of reporters. She's like, ding! I have an idea. Let's go to the back of the building. Maybe we'll catch her through there. And lo and behold, she's right. Right?
Ding.
She goes, ding. And then she's like, let's go to the back. And Kenny, turn that damn camera on. And he's like, it's Chenandler. Anyway, Chenandler Bong. So Gail finally finds Sydney, and she's like through the back of the building and asks her, like, hey, Sydney, what happened? What happened? Of course, nobody's, she's like, no, you're not answering any questions. But then Tate is like, oh, fuck off, whatever. Gail keeps at it, but Sydney's like, turns around. She's like, you know what? Let me give you a piece of my mind, you little bitch. And asks her, like, oh, how's your book going? And as Tim mentioned earlier,
she's wearing a green suit.
Yeah, she's wearing a green suit, but also Gail Weathers wrote a book about Sydney's mother's death from the year before. And Sydney was...
She was very slimy about gathering all the details, and now she's looking for a new scoop, and Sydney does not appreciate that.
Not only that, but she also basically calls Sydney a liar in her book, saying that Cotton Weary was
framed.
Framed, exactly, and that Sydney is wrong. But we'll get into that a little later. She's like... Sydney says, like, hey, how's the book going? Gail says, oh, it'll be out later this year. And Sydney says, oh, I'll look for it. And Gail very confidently responds, like, I'll send you
a copy.
Punches her right in the face and knocks her over. That's probably what Sydney was like super proud of. Like that day, it's like, yeah, I'm glad I got this fucking knock this bitch down a peg.
Yeah, which by the way, though, she was so flattered by Sydney, and I was like, she's definitely setting you up here, Gail.
Yeah, she's like, oh, you really want to read my book?
They're like in the middle of a crowd sneaking out the back of a police station, like in the middle of an alley, and there's all these flash bulbs going in. And Sydney just says, how's your new book? You really think she's starting a little convo with you?
Yeah, it's like, oh, it's out later. And then she's like, don't worry, I'll send you a copy, girl. Like, bitch, she does not want to read a book about her mother's murder.
What if a
sensationalized one?
Yeah. What if she says, I'll send you a copy? And then Sydney goes, okay, great. And then she skips away all happily.
No, she goes like, okay, great. Do you have my address? It's like, no, it's a 123 University Avenue.
123 FU Boulevard.
FU Boulevard, bitch. And then takes out a bottle of whiskey from her coat and smashes her on the head. But then we're doing a lot of Black Christmas overlap, apparently. That was Mrs. Etna, who has whiskey in her coats. But
yes.
We cut to Tate's house where Sydney is staying. Obviously, she's not going to stay at her house. She just got attacked. She's in bed. Yeah, very obviously. She's in bed and talking with Tate when Tate's mother walks in and says, like, hey, there's a phone call for you. She thinks it's her father because, again, they don't know where he is. But it turns out to be the killer.
Oh.
He says, you fingered the wrong guy.
Ew.
Or something.
He does say that.
Yeah, he does say that, yeah. And she starts to cry in panic, and Dewey walks in with his gun. Also, like Alonda said, but why does he have his finger on the trigger?
I know.
Like he walks, like he's
a bad cop, that's why.
Yeah, because like the mom, Sydney picks up the phone, the killer's on the other line saying like, ha ha ha, you got the wrong guy. And she goes, no. And then the mother's like, Dewey. And Dewey comes out with a gun in his hand with the hand under the trigger. I was like, dude, who are you going to kill?
I know. He's like, Sydney, I'll put you out of your misery.
I'll do it. Pow, pow, pow. But the next morning, Dewey tells Sydney, hey, Billy was released due to insufficient evidence.
I thought you were going to say insufficient funds.
Insufficient funds. Maybe. Like in the future, I believe that will happen. Well, that's actually a thing right now.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
you're getting political no matter what.
No, I mean, it's true. Like, you can't leave jail unless you post bail, no?
Oh, yeah, that's true.
There you
go.
If you're given a bond or whatever.
You sound like a real Hillary Clinton right now. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes. And you sound like a very Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris. Yeah.
Kamala. I say Kamala, like kill also, but anyway.
We'll work on it.
We'll work on it. So anyway, we come back to the next day. Dewey drops off Tate and Sydney off at school. Honestly, at this point, why are you still going to school? Like, that's the last place I want to be.
Take that day off.
Honestly, yeah, if somebody attacked me, I would not go to school where it's like free range because I still don't know who the killer is.
Right.
So why do I have to go to school and learn algebra?
Yeah, go to your beautiful house in the hills and watch that movie with Tom Cruise.
Well, no, yeah, exactly right. But no, like at least stay at Tate's house in the meantime. I don't know.
Yeah, or go to Denny's.
go to Denny's, sit there in the corner, like in the last booth, like you're like fucking The Godfather or something.
Yeah.
And you're just like, yeah, exactly. Where you're back to the wall and just staring, just like seeing whoever comes in. Like that's what I would do.
Yeah. Or
I would have a
coffee.
gun. Yeah, I would have a gun with my hand on the trigger ready to go.
Yeah.
And when the waitress comes like, do you want more sugar, hon? Pow!
Oh shit.
Don't offer me sugar. I want coffee. Anyway.
Enough
Easter
about
egg.
Denny's.
Enough about Denny's. Unless we're sponsored by Denny's, then we're very happy to talk about you more.
Oh yeah. And in that case, more about Denny's.
More Denny's. I want the slime witch. A reporter interrupts Sydney as she's walking inside the school. It's like, how does it feel to be almost brutally butchered? Like, who asks that? Also, that was
You're so funny right now. I don't know why. You're making me laugh at every single thing you say.
No, but that woman is Linda Blair.
Oh, it is?
You know that? Yeah.
No.
Do you remember the scene where she Dewey drops her off at school and she's going to school and then the reporter's just like randomly there. It's like, we have a right to know. It's like, know what, bitch? You're asking her, how does it feel to be almost brutally butchered?
Yeah, that's a weird opening question.
Like, hello, hi, I'm from, KFXR, Fox News, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, Woodsboro Gazette.
I'm from the Woodsboro Gazette. I need to know. Yeah, see, let me know how it's going. Like, no, it's like, how does it feel to be almost brutally butchered? Like, bitch, shut the fuck up. But anyway, that actress who plays the reporter is Linda Blair, who is famous from The Exorcist. Yes.
Wow. So Skeet Ulrich is referencing her.
Yes, exactly. Very meta.
Maybe that's why he was thinking of The Exorcist, because he met that reporter earlier that day.
Mm-hmm. Now
I don't know.
You're reaching a little bit, but
yeah,
also
okay.
In the sequel, spoiler, but Billy Loomis, played by Skeet, his mom is a reporter in the sequel.
Oh wow.
Yeah. You don't remember that?
I do remember that. I know. I'm saying, oh, wow. I don't know. I'm just trying to support you and your fun fact.
So Sydney walks up to Gail and wants to chat. So Gail is like outside of the van putting on makeup to cover her bruise from being smacked the night before. Sydney
really punched.
Yeah, punched, exactly. They talk about the previous case against the guy who was accused of killing her mother. She and Gail get into an argument about whether she falsely accused Cotton Weary as the guy who killed her mom. And that's basically it. That's just a little banter between them. But she really just wanted to have a one-on-one conversation with Gail, whereas Gail was like, turn on the camera, snap, snap. I was like, no, this is off the record.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Sydney walks up goes into the school, and some dumbasses running around, like two dumbasses, I think, right? They're running around the campus with a ghost face mask trying to scare people.
I know. And by the way, was that mask available back then before that movie came out?
Oh, before the movie came out? I don't know, actually. It's a good question. I think it was made for the movie, and they just made it seem like it was a common mask found around the state of whatever, California.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't think it was an actual, famous mask from before.
Okay. I always wondered that.
Yeah. And yeah, so they're running around trying to scare people, especially Sydney, and she just leaves. She's like, fuck this. And she bumps into Billy. He says, I'm not the killer. She goes, I know. Now she says that. He says, you haven't been the same since your mother died. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I know. Billy's real.
He's a dumbass.
At that scene. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. He's just a dumbass. He's like, oh, we just haven't, we used to have, we were ready to have full-on sex, and since your mother died, you no longer want to be intimate. It's like, dude, calm the fuck down. And she goes like, my mother died. And he goes like, well, my mother left my family. It's like, that's not the same thing.
I know. He tries to make that lame analogy, and she's like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, she's just like, I'm sorry, my life isn't perfect the way you want it. And she has her hands up in the air, and she's just like, whatever. But obviously that's from a Scary Movie.
But it's honestly pretty accurate.
Yes. But then, Tim, we see Principal Arthur Fonzarelli, a.k.a. Principal Fonz, a.k.a. that's not the character's name, but that's how we know him as. Henry Winkler's character. I'm just going to call him Principal Fonz. I know that's not his character's name, but whatever. He's scolding these two teenage punks that were wearing the ghost face masks and making light of what happened. He's like, you know what? You're both expelled. And one of them goes like, that's not fair. And he goes, shut up.
Oh, no. No, he doesn't do that.
No?
No.
No, the fawn stops. Fawn.
The fawn stops right then.
The fawn stops here. And see what I did there. Anyway, I'm thinking that he thinks like, oh, maybe I went too far with expelling them. But no, he whips out some sharp scissors and tells them, fairness would be try to rip your insides out and hang you from a tree so we can expose you for the heartless, desensitized little shits that you are. Okay. I've been mad at like employees before, as you know, Tim.
I think I can recall that. Yeah.
No, that's not true. Anyway, but like, I would never hold a weapon against their bodies. Imagine like, the first day that you showed up to work, and you're like, "Oh, I'm here to work, mister." And then I just like open my desk drawer and I whip out some scissors and point it at your like stomach, and like, listen, you little motherfucker, if you don't fucking come in on time next time, I'm gonna cut your fucking balls off.
No. Yeah, I might not show up the next day.
Yeah, maybe.
And then I'd show up the day after that, though.
You did show up, but I also didn't do that.
Yeah.
But like, I'm just saying, like, this guy went a little too far, I think, no?
Oh,
the principal.
Yeah, you know what? You're right.
Like, come on, leave them. They're still kids. They're stupid kids, but come on. Anyway.
Yes, you should not threaten them with scissors. I agree with you.
I know. Sydney then goes to the restroom at school and starts to ponder the meaning of life, Tim.
Interesting. In the restroom.
Yeah, in a restroom, of course, like we all do. And she overhears two girls talking from the stalls about Sydney and about how she's making it all up for attention. So Sydney goes into a stall to hide from these two wackos. And then one of them says, like, what if she did it? Says one of the girlies. And then one of them says, like, maybe she's a slut just like her mother.
So basically everyone in this movie is a sociopath except Sydney.
Yeah. It's weird because, like, again, you just heard about this girl, like, almost getting killed, aka Sydney. And you're like, oh, no, she's just making it up. And she's also a slut just like her mom. Like, what? Like, give her some grace once.
Yeah.
Honestly, if I were her, after all that shit that I've been through, like getting almost killed, not trusting my boyfriend telling me like, oh, get over your parents' death or whatever, I would have made sure to have bricks in my backpack or my remedial math book and just swung at them.
That remedial math book wasn't that big though, was it?
No, it wasn't. Never mind. I need a chemistry 3 book or something and just whack them in the head.
I know. I didn't really know what you meant when you first said bricks in your backpack. I thought you were just saying you wanted a heavy backpack.
That's why I would have a bricks in my backpack so I can swing it to somebody's head because they're making fun of me.
Oh, yeah.
But then I would be the killer and it would branch out into a different story.
Yeah, that would be a new.
You were the killer the whole time. Like, no, I was just getting back at them. Anyway, the two girls walk out. They're like, we just made fun of that bitch. Let's leave. Or whatever.
Let's leave. We did what we need to do.
We did our little part, our little shtick. So let's go to the cafeteria and eat those tater tots. And Sydney just was like, oh, maybe it is true. Maybe I am a slut. Even though she's a virgin. It makes zero sense. And then she goes to like the mirror to look at herself and like reflect, I guess. But then she hears a noise. Tim. She hears a noise. And then she turns around and she's like, hello? I'm making that part up. And she
hello?
Hello? Quit playing around. And then she sees the black boots coming down from the stalls and the little black what is it called? The trench coat? Not the trench coat. The little costume.
The cloak.
The cloak starts lowering down. She's like, oh, fuck. Here we go again. And she winks at the camera and goes, wink. Yeah. And then out comes Ghost.
Wait, but his boots lower. I'm thinking, is he holding really tight to that hook that is there for your jacket?
What do you mean?
Well, like, how are your boots lowering when you're behind a stall? Like, wouldn't that mean that he's hoisting himself up on that hook?
That would break the door. No, he's on top of the toilet.
So both your boots are going to lower at the same time?
Wait, I don't remember if it was one foot and then the next. You're overanalyzing this, Tim.
I'm just saying.
That's true, though. Actually, you do have a point, though. I have to take a look again. But if both of his boots are lowering at the same time, that would imply, logistically, that would imply that he's holding on from the hook the whole time. That was great.
He's really into the bit.
He's definitely a clown. That's true. You know what? I'm going to take a look. Listeners, if you are watching this and pausing it all the time because we keep going into our little tangents, please let us know in the comments, is Ghostface having both of his boots go down at the same time? And if so, oh my God, that is gold, because that implies that he was hanging off of a hook.
Yeah,
as Tim
which
says.
is really clown behavior when you think about it.
Very clown behavior, very Tim and Luis behavior.
Yeah, only we would do that.
Only us, yes. But as his both black boots come down at the same time from the hook, his little cloak comes down at the same time. So he's holding off to them very daintily. He's like, oh, my boots first, and now my little cloak, letting them down slowly.
Like he lowered his own cloak, like holding it up like a little skirt for a second.
Exactly. And then he pushes the door open and tries to attack her, but she slides underneath and she gets out of the bathroom. Also, you must have big balls to be able to do some stupid shit like that, to like hide in the women's bathroom to do something.
I know. Big pendulous balls for sure.
Yes, big Ghostface balls. Huge mistake. Outside of school, reporters are talking about the Ghostface costume and roaming around the campus trying to get more information. There's a reporter holding up a Ghostface mask saying, like, this is the costume. Like, that's just flaming the fires. I feel like more people are just going to be like, oh, let's look for that costume and, do whatever.
That's probably the same reporter that said, Sydney, what was it like when your mother was butchered brutally in front of you?
No, that was Linda Blair, and this one was like a different reporter. I don't know what her name is, but Gail finds Dewey and starts to flirt with him a little bit. I still don't know at this point if she's like trying to get into, trying to get more information, or if she's really likes him, or both.
I know. It's true. She's asking Dewey all these questions in her little green suit.
Yeah, she's like, oh, you're pretty young for a blah, 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 whatever. Dewey's such a dork, sorry. But,
love Dewey, though.
But he also, like, dude, like, you're worse than a fucking my tia chata. You're just, like, chisme all around, because he's, like, gossiping.
Yeah.
He admits that Sydney's father could also be a suspect. Why are you telling a reporter this?
I know. He's bad at his job.
Yeah, he's just really bad, yeah. But anyway, the gang, a.k.a. Stu, Sydney, and Tate, agree to have a party since they think they're safer together than alone. Honestly, Tim, if you were at school and you knew all this shit was happening, by the way, you are in Sydney's shoes right now.
Okay.
Her black boots that just came from that's somebody else. Anyway.
Her Doc Martens.
Your Doc Martens, and you knew all this shit was happening. You're the one targeted. Do you think being at a party with your friends would make you safer, or do you think you would rather be alone?
No. Well, actually, okay, come to think of it, I guess a party would make me feel safer overall, because I mean, the killer's going after people on the phone when they're alone, right? So yeah, I would do that.
You think you would be safer if you were at a house party than if you were to be at home by yourself, is what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Honestly, I think I'd be the same. Yeah, because
were you taking a drink just then?
No, I was like a drink of water. I have nothing. I have a Coke cannon with me, but not even that. I wasn't even doing it. I was just like swallowing my mucus.
Okay, go on.
But I think I agree with you. I think that being with friends in this situation would make me want to be around them, because if I got attacked, there would be witnesses, and I could be like, "Oh, help me!" or somebody would try to help me.
Yeah, or throw beers at the killer. Let's say,
"Hey, leave him alone!" Pass. And then they grab the beer back and they start drinking. Gulp, gulp, gulp. It's like,
oh wait, those are Heinekens.
Those are good beers. Oh, the fucking Schaefer Lights. What's that? It's a Texas drink from South Texas. Anyway.
Oh, that's a deep cut.
Yeah, it's a deep cut. So we go back inside the school, Tim, after the gang has decided, yeah, let's have a party. Let's all celebrate. I don't know what they're celebrating, but let's all, whatever. We go back inside the school. The Fonz, a.k.a. the principal, is trying on the Ghostface mask in his office.
Yeah.
And mimicking a scare to himself in the mirror and wearing nothing else. He has he's like man boobs sticking out. He has like a little Speedo he's wearing, but it's too tight, and his schlong is sticking out to the side, and he's what are we doing? Anyway,
I don't know.
He's not naked.
No, he's dressed.
He's dressed in a little business suit. He has his little ghost face mask. He's like, whatever. Somebody knocks on the door very violently, I might add. Like, very like, pop, 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 wow. It's like, I've never knocked that way anywhere.
No, well, that's where we differ.
Well, you have knocked really harshly that way? How, when, why?
No, come to think of it, I haven't.
Like, it wouldn't make sense if you ever did that, right? Unless you were like a landlord and you're trying to evict somebody, and you're like, get the fuck out.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Then you would.
Yeah, but if you are a landlord and listening to this podcast, please stop listening and unsubscribe.
Because
we hate you.
We hate you. Stop raising our rent.
Oh, stop it. But somebody knocks on the door and why does this always happen in film? Like somebody knocks on the door very violently, and then you open the door like 2 seconds later, there's nobody there, and then you turn left and right, and there's like a long hallway. It's like, where the hell could they have gone?
I know, like they've got to be running at like top speed, and you will most definitely hear them.
Or there's two things that they could do. They could either knock, 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 and then climb up the wall and hang from the ceiling,
Right.
like Uma Thurman in Kill Bill. Or other thing, they're invisible.
Oh, I didn't consider that.
Yeah, they're invisible, and then somebody opens the door, and they're just to the side where the lockers are, and they have their like 3 fingers up to their mouth, and they're giggly like, I got him good. Anyway, I don't know how they could have done that, but anyway, they knock again, and of course, the Fonz, he opens the door, says something like, "You scummy worms."
Oh yeah.
He says, "Hey, let's go surfing, mamacita."
Wait, what?
I don't know.
You've never watched that show?
No. He goes, "Hey, you scummy worms." He doesn't say that. He says something like, "Hey, you little shits." And a janitor is wearing a red and green sweater with a hat, and he's like mopping the floor. He's like, "What'd you call me?" And he goes, "Not you, Freddy."
I know. Wink, wink. Nightmare on Elm Street.
So tell the listeners what that is. This whole little...
He's dressed like Freddy Krueger from Nightmare on Elm Street. It's honestly, that joke, I used to think that was funny, and now when I see it, I'm like, okay, Wes Craven, director of Nightmare on Elm Street and now of Scream. This is a little bit like, you know, I feel like, yeah, like you're more clever than this. Like he's literally dressed in a red and green sweater and a hat. What's it called?
Yeah,
a hat. And it's like, and no one even wears those hats.
Yeah, like a fedora type hat, right?
Fedora, yeah.
But the guy playing him is also Wes Craven, which I think is hilarious.
Oh, okay, that's funny.
Yeah. So, yes, Wes Craven is playing Freddy, a character named Freddy, wearing a red and green sweater like Freddy Krueger. So, the principal goes back into the school or into his office, very paranoid, looking around around the office to see if anybody is in there, and he realizes that there's no one in there. So he closes the door to his office, but behind the door, Tim, is Ghostface.
No, and he's not wearing anything.
He's not wearing anything. He's using his dick to stab people. And he goes, "How you like them apples?" It's like, "What apples?" Like, "This one." He grabs his both balls and sticks them in his mouth. He stabs him, and you just see Ghostface reflection in the eyes of the principal as he's being stabbed. Like he's like very scared. Like that's really a cool little scene. Tim, what do you think about having somebody famous be killed off this way? Kind of the same thing with like Drew Barrymore. Are you still laughing at the balls in the mouth?
I'm sorry, that was very funny. Wait, what did you ask me again? Start that question over and edit this out.
Yeah. What do you think now after, we see Henry Winkler's character being killed off this way, like being stabbed, and then Drew Barrymore as well. We mentioned this a little bit, but how do you feel about these two very famous people? Because I think they're one of the more famous persons, in the movie just gets killed off in really, really weird, disgusting ways.
Yeah, it's sad, but he was a principal who's threatening students with scissors. You live by the sword. Something.
You talk about the sword, but yeah, no, I think it's that didn't answer the question, but it's fine.
I apologize.
No, I'm kidding. No, I was like, yeah, I think it's really cool to have these main characters just die in a way that you would not expect them to, because like I don't know anything about the Fonz or Happy Days or anything, but wasn't he like a fun little character?
Yeah, I mean, he was like a beloved character. You're right, actually. That's interesting. I didn't think about that. Like Drew Barrymore dies, he dies. Like these are like famous figures already that people are seeing go. That's probably why they chose them, honestly.
Honestly, yeah, because like Drew Barrymore, I'm assuming, like I don't follow her career that much, but like I'm assuming she did like a lot of romantic comedies and like romantic dramas. Like she was like very lovable characters always, I'm assuming. You know her from like E.T.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, she was mostly lovable characters, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I know someone's gonna be listening to this and be like, no, actually, no, she was in this.
Actually, that's not true.
Well, we don't know that, okay? And so we are the arbiters of truth on this podcast. So as far as anyone else listening knows, that is true.
Exactly. So Tim, we're almost we're at the more than halfway point. We're
good.
Okay, fine.
No.
For 20 minutes. Come back. So we're outside of somebody's home or building. Maybe it's a school building. I'm not sure. But Tate and Sydney are talking about who the killer may be. The conversation turns to Sydney's mother's murder. Tate implies that maybe Cotton Weary wasn't the killer, and Sydney, of course, pushes back because she's like, I'm the one who accused him. But then she thinks about it a little bit because Tate said something along the lines of like, oh, well, we heard about your mother being the town slut.
Yeah.
She didn't use those words, but she was like, oh, there were
Tate
others.
is her best friend, listeners.
By the way, yeah, she didn't say the town slut, but she was basically saying like, oh, we heard so much about your mom. There were other men. And no matter how once you hear it too many times, you start to believe it. Kind of the Richard Gere gerbil story.
Yeah,
and
then of course, I watching that as a teenager had to quickly Google that, and then
like Richard Gere gerbil, exactly. And it was pre-AI, so somebody really photoshopped a picture of Richard Gere.
I didn't look up images, luckily.
Yeah, Richard Gere on top of a gerbil going, give him the old razzle dazzle, razzle dazzle him. Cindy starts to ponder that if Cotton is innocent, she's like, oh, if he is innocent, then the killer may still be out there. And Tate, of course, says like, oh, you're starting to sound like some Wes Carpenter flick or something. I thought that was kind of funny.
Oh, she said Wes Carpenter?
Yeah, she like mixed the two names. She's like, oh, you're starting to sound like Wes Carpenter.
That's a little lame, actually.
Oh, everything I find cool, you find lame, Tim.
I'm sorry. It's just Wes Carpenter.
Forget you're the cool person.
I'm the cool person of this duo here. And
yeah.
Our cool person opinions and
true.
Combining Wes Craven and John Carpenter to Wes Carpenter is lame.
You can go fuck yourself.
Oh my God.
And I did take a sip of something.
It's over.
No, I'm sorry.
No, Tim. Mind.
I put this here because I don't want to do a recap of it. I just want us to act it out. Would that be okay?
It's okay.
Okay. So the next we cut to the video store scene.
Oh, I love this scene.
Yeah. Side note. Did you ever go to Blockbuster growing up? We kind of did talk about that. I added that in my notes, but we did talk about that.
I did once or twice when I was a little kid.
Okay. Do you want to be Stu or Randy in this little scenario?
I would like to be Randy.
Okay, I'll be Stu.
You got to really act like Stu in this scene.
Okay, I will. So for our listeners, if you have not seen this movie, there's a scene where two of the characters from actually three are in a video store, like a Blockbuster, and they start talking about who might be the killer. And yeah, we'll just take it from there. That sound good, Tim?
That sounds good. And for clarification, the one that works there is Randy. He's the one who's super into movies, scary movies. He knows about all the trivia. And Stu is the creepy friend that talked about gutting someone from stem to stern or whatever it was.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll start off. Jesus, this place is packed.
We had a run in the mass murder section.
Okay. You coming tonight?
Yeah, I'm off early. Curfew, you know? Now that's poor taste.
What?
If you were the only suspect in a senseless bloodbath, would you be standing in the horror section?
It was all a misunderstanding. He didn't do anything.
Such a little lapdog. He got killer printed all over his forehead.
Oh, then why did the police let him go, Smarty?
Because obviously they don't watch enough scary movies. This is standard horror movie stuff. Prom night, revisit it.
Why would he want to kill his own girlfriend?
There's always some stupid bullshit reason to kill your girlfriend. That's the beauty of it all. Simplicity. Besides, if it's too complicated, you lose your target audience.
So what's his reason?
Maybe Sydney wouldn't have sex with him.
She's saving herself for you?
Could be. Now that Billy's tried to mutilate her, you think Sid would go out with me?
No, I don't think so. I think her father did it. How come they can't find his ass?
Because he's probably dead. His body will come popping out in the last reel somewhere, eyes gouged. See, the police are always off track with this shit. If they watched Prom Night, they'd save time. There's formula to it, a very simple one. Everyone's always a suspect. The father, the principal, the town derelict.
Oh, I think this part is you're supposed to see. You're a bad actor, Tim, because this one you would have said, there's a formula to it, a very simple one. Everyone's a suspect.
I did a great Randy. I will have you know.
Listeners, go watch the movie and see who did it better. But okay.
I'm not going to yell, okay?
Oh.
The microphone won't even pick it up.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
I hate when we fight.
Oh! So just after that, Billy bumps into him and says, how do we know you're not the killer? And Randy gets all tense in it and admits that he would be one in a movie. Like, he just like, you know what? You're right. I probably would be a killer. Honestly, why are they all friends? They're also mean to each other.
I know, but this is in like every movie, I feel like all the friends are like complete jerks to each other, and then They're
Yeah.
still friends. I don't know.
That's true. You are always a jerk to me.
Yeah, that's what I was referencing. I'm glad you caught on to that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So after that, we cut to the convenience store and we see Dewey, Tate, and Sydney are shopping for groceries for the party. You know, pretty standard stuff until Sydney leaves the frame and we see Ghostface just standing there from the reflection of the freezer door. That is such a Scooby-Doo type of thing, right?
It really is. And come on, what he's in the store, like everyone, like people are shopping and they're like seeing him
In full costume.
Yeah,
Like, how does
of
that?
course.
Yeah, but I think that was done purposely. I think they were trying to like very Scooby-Doo it, but I could be wrong.
Oh, that's right.
Okay. And then we go outside and we see Dewey eating his little ice cream cone and talking to the sheriff. He says something that is like, oh, we tracked the calls when Sydney was first harassed or attacked, actually. And the calls are coming from her father's phone tab. Oh, no.
Oh no, it's in the house.
Yeah. And the sheriff is smoking and dropped his little ashes, I think. Or maybe it's the ice cream scoop from Dewey. And we see that he's wearing the same boots that the Ghostface was wearing in the bathroom when he lowered himself off of the hook. When he
Doc
attacked.
Martens.
Yeah. At this point, when you first saw it, who did you think the killer was?
I think I thought at that point, gosh, who did I actually think it was? I probably thought it was Skeet Ulrich, honestly, because he just
really.
seemed creepy and he had greasy hair. And
He just
but I
looked
mean,
like-
I was dumb too, because I was just like falling for like the person they immediately wanted you to think was it at first.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like there's a lot of red herrings in this film. Like you think, oh, is it the sheriff? Could it be the father? And somebody even mentions like, oh, maybe it's even Sydney. Oh, I think that was the cheerleader in the bathroom. It's like, she's
Yeah.
the killer. And I'm going
Maybe it's the town slut.
maybe it's a town slut. Now I'm on her side. So there's so many people who are being accused of being the killer.
You were convinced of that argument, I bet, at the time.
I
You're like,
was.
she probably was.
I was like, you know what? Maybe Sydney is a killer. But then now we go to the last set piece, right?
Yes, right.
Is the set piece where everything takes place in a specific set, right? That's what it is.
I think so. You know what? Like I said,
Go.
we determine the truth. So
Yes.
we're the hosts of the podcast, not the listeners. If we're wrong,
Exactly.
listeners, it doesn't matter. Okay.
Exactly. It's what we say. We then finally go to Stu's house for the party. Gail and her cameraman are there outside like uninvited losers. I've been there, you know.
Oh, yeah. I
outside
always
sit-
hang out outside of every party.
People are having their party and I'm just eating my Doritos. I'm like, looks like fun. And then when somebody's like, do you want to go inside? It's like, hell yeah, let's go. Hell no, I would never do any of that.
Celebrate good times. Come
Come on. But they concoct a plan to hide a camera that will record the inside of the party, Tim. And the camera has like a 30-second delay. What do you think of that little scene? Like of Gail just being everywhere, like a nosy person. I guess that's what an investigative reporter does, right?
Yeah, I guess they act nosy. That's their whole thing. By the way, did you notice that her hair is like the same as Jennifer Aniston's Rachel haircut?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. She does have like the Rachel haircut. Yeah.
Is that purposefully? Like, is she referencing the fact that she's on Friends, but she's not Jennifer Aniston?
I don't know, but in part, what is it? Part 3?
Yeah, she makes some comment about.
See, I mean, she's like, oh, those were fake. Those were Jennifer Aniston's boobs or whatever.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Doesn't really answer my question, but yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. No, I think that, she was probably using, there's a lot of like the whole movie's like very meta. Maybe they were doing that. Like, oh, we're going to give you the Rachel. And they even,
We'll give you the Rachel.
we'll give you the Rachel haircut. And she even had the little highlights because she has black hair.
Yeah.
In the first movie, she's the only movie where she has like a little bit of like blondish brown highlights, I think.
Yeah, she does. You're right.
I can't believe we're talking about hairstyles. In a
And
horror
earlier,
podcast.
we talked for like 5 minutes about their house and how much it would cost. So that shows how old we are, I would say.
And her green neon dress, exactly.
Yeah.
Then we cut to inside, and Tate is going into the garage to get more beer for the party.
No, Tate.
No, Tate! The lights don't work, of course, so she walks quickly to the fridge to grab those extra beers. The door closes behind her, and she's locked in the garage, Tim. So she goes up to the door, and she's like, oh, let me press the garage. Right, let me try to unlock it. She can't. She said she's locked. So she presses the garage door button to open up, the garage door, and she walks to it,
Yeah.
and then it starts to go down by itself. And she's like, what the hell? She didn't say that. And then she turns around, and it's her bestie, Ghostface.
Completely naked.
Yeah, completely naked. Yeah, exactly. She's like, oh, Stu, I know that's you. I
That
recognize that penis. But she thinks it's
He's
Randy.
like, I'll leave.
No, never mind. Sorry. She thinks it's Randy and tells him to, take off the suit before, you get in trouble with Sydney. But Ghostface just grabs her arm and slashes her arm. I think she drops the beers after that, or maybe it's vice versa, but I don't remember. She realizes, obviously, this is not Randy. I think she does a really good job of making Ghostface look like a dumbass, honestly, because, like, she throws bottles at him. She hits him in the face with the fridge door. She trips him. I'm like, okay, Diva. Like, she's just making him look like a clown.
She really, like, honestly, in that scene, when I watched it at first, I still, like, didn't think she was going to die from him. I really thought, that she was going to be him.
It's almost the same feeling with Drew Barrymore. You're like, okay, she's like doing her part. It's not like somebody who's helpless and just gets like stabbed or anything. It's like, no, she's actually fighting back and like tripping him and, trying to escape, etc. So you're like, maybe there's a glimmer of hope, but no, every time it's the same thing.
Yeah. Unlike the characters in Halloween who basically all act like dumbasses until they die.
Yeah, exactly. She runs towards the garage door, which is now closed, and she tries to escape through the little doggy door. Come on.
Yeah.
I know she's petite or small, but like, let's get real.
She's giving herself a lot of credit.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I would fit through that, obviously.
Well, you would, yeah.
I'm very petite and small.
Right. You're known for that. But
but girl, no.
Tate, come on.
Tate, those boobs are gonna kill you. They're gonna be the death of you, basically.
I know.
He turns on the power for the garage door, and of course the garage door just keeps going up, and it crushes Tate into like an inflatable doll. It just looks. She looks like the
inflatable doll.
But like how we mentioned in the previous podcast, in another podcast where we talked about like the ending of Nightmare on Elm Street, where they pull the mom through the little hole and she turns into like a balloon person.
Yeah, there's just one shot where all of a sudden she turns into a balloon,
and that's what it feels like for this one. Like when they crush her face and you see her face, it looks like a very plasticky mask.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, to be honest, I did not notice that at all, and it looked realistic to me. But that's just me.
No, you're wrong. So we cut to Stu and Sydney saying goodbye to some people that are leaving the party, and in pops Billy. This motherfucker always shows up at the scene of a crime. Sydney says, Billy. So Billiard and Sidnacious, they go upstairs to talk, and she starts talking about she needs to finally move on from her mother's death. Again, it's only been a year. Like, damn. And Billy mentions some comment, I don't remember, but he mentions something about Silence of the Lambs. And I'm like, off topic, one of my favorite horror films of all time.
Great movie. But they finally decide to do it. So she's no longer a virgin, Tim. They fuck. Wow.
Yeah, so they do a little Zooga. Yeah,
they do the womp womp.
Sorry, or something. I don't know. But we cut to
they make whoopee.
They make whoopee, and we cut to Goldberg. We cut to the living room, and Randy, along with his friends, are watching the movie Halloween.
Oh,
wait, did you say Halloween or Scream was your favorite movie?
Now
it's a tie. Now I'm putting
it's a tie.
Spot.
You're putting me on the spot. I don't know. I can't choose.
Pick one right now. You're on the clock.
Halloween.
Oh, okay. Let's cancel this episode, guys. Sorry.
Yeah, I know.
It
kind of wrecks the
kick you out
the
of
mood.
Kick you out of the recording. Now, welcome to the podcast. Let's record Lois and Vina.
Let's record two separate versions of this, where I also say Scream, and we see what our responses are.
Exactly. So one of them brings up the fact that they'll be like, "Hey, when do we get to see Jamie Lee Curtis's boobs?" Or Randy says it doesn't happen until later in her career. He goes into a monologue about how final girls have to be virgins to survive a horror film. His rules are, well, Tim, actually.
His rules are Tim?
Yes, they're Tim. Tim, how old was Sidney Prescott in this movie? Like, not, her character.
The character, not, because I'm sure the actress was like 32.
Yeah. She was like about 18 or 17. Like, that's implied, right? Because she's in high school.
Yeah, okay. I guess so. They all look like they're about, I don't know, seniors in high school, probably.
So, like, within this movie, it doesn't make sense because, well, maybe it does. I don't know. This is America. It's different. But, like, they say never have sex. 17, 18, I was a complete virgin still, obviously.
Not obvious.
Obviously.
No, don't say that.
Never do drugs. I was at fucking Denny's eating fucking
Grand Slam breakfast.
eating my little Grand Slam witch and gaining those pounds. There was definitely no reason. I was definitely not having sex, and I was definitely not doing drugs because that's what I was doing.
Yeah,
And then-
but Denny's had so many good deals that I feel like it was almost worth it.
Yeah. And then the third rule is never say, "I'll be right back." And that's what the waitress would say to me when she was like, "You want another Grand Slam witch?" Oh, God, I'll be right back then. That's it. But yes, these are the rules. Never have sex, never do drugs, and never say, "I'll be right back."
Because you won't be back.
Because you won't be back. So we go outside, and Dewey knocks on Gail's van to ask her, like, "Hey, I'm going to go investigate this abandoned car nearby." But it's also, he wants to use it as an excuse to bond with her. So he goes off and about, walking down this lonely country road almost. Inside the house, Sydney's having sex with Billy. Randy and the gang are watching Halloween when he gets a call. Again, it's not even his house, it's Stu's house, so why is he picking up the phone? He's informed that the principal is dead and hanging from a goalpost. Honestly, I would never want to see any of that.
No.
Yeah, people who like watching morbid shit like that, they are a different kind of and I don't mean like in movies, I mean like in real life. People who go to like websites to look at that shit, they're fucked up in the head.
Oh, well, yeah, of course they are. Why is that? Why are you even thinking about that in real life situation?
Oh, I'm just saying because like when they say that the principal was found dead hanging from a goalpost, like I guess like, you know, belayed, these teens are like, "Oh, let's go see this."
Ew.
You know,
Freaking weirdos. Everyone at that school, it's like sociopath high.
yeah. The other friends are really excited and they want to see Mr. Fonz's carcass. So they leave the house. They jump on the little Ford Focuses or whatever they're driving, and they go barreling down
Ford Explorers.
the little Ford Explorers, and they go down the country road where they almost hit Gail and Dewey. So they both jump out of the way and Gail and Dewey jump out of the road, to not get hit. And the fact that Dewey's like, "Hey guys, stop it, guys," and they're just like hitting the gas even more, like, "Fuck you." But anyway, Gail and Dewey jump to the side of the road, or down a hill. They will go rolling down, and somehow they end up on top of each other. They kiss for a little bit. They find Sydney's father's car abandoned.
And can I just say the romance between Gail and Dewey, you can feel it. And for anyone who doesn't know this, and I don't know why you wouldn't know this because it's pretty public knowledge, but Courtney Cox and David Arquette did meet around the same time, and they actually did get married later. So
yeah, they had a marriage that lasted a
long time,
several years. Yeah, exactly. And they still maintain that.
Yeah, they're still friends.
Yeah, because they still come out in later Scream movies after they've been divorced.
Wah wah.
Wah wah. So back in the house, Sydney and Billy are getting dressed after fucking. And she asks him, like, "Oh, so who did you call after you ended up in jail?" He's like, "Oh, my father." And she's like, "No, that's not true, Ellen. The sheriff."
That's not true.
"Ellen, that's not true. The sheriff called your father." And she's basically like questioning him. Billy tells Sydney, "What do I have to do to prove to you that I'm not the killer?" And she's like, well, you could start by not being a dick right now to me and talking this way to me." And then behind Billy walks in actual Ghostface. And then she goes, "Oh, Billy, turn around." And he turns around. And
Oh,
oh. I know what that was.
Everyone's whimpering in our situation.
And then Billy gets stabbed by Ghostface. "Tim, you were wrong. Billy's not the killer."
No, I didn't call it.
Damn it. So Sydney runs down. She's like, "Oh my God, like they just killed my boyfriend." Imagine just like losing your virginity to someone and then seeing your boyfriend get killed. Like right after.
Yeah, that would be rough.
If that were a thing, if that were real in this story. But we'll get into that a little later.
Well,
Sydney,
we'll see.
We'll see. Sydney runs from the room, down the stairs and up the stairs and down the stairs. And she just running all over the place.
She's got a big house.
She is. It's Stu's house. I don't know how the hell she ends up like in the house.
That's right.
But she ends up in the attic somehow. And she crawls out the window and yells for help. But in walks Ghostface and pushes her out of the second-story window. Luckily, she ends up on top of a cushion on a boat, I think, right? Is that what it was?
Yeah, I think it was.
Something like that, right? She runs towards the news van. She sees the news van there, sorry. And she runs towards it. And that tub of lard is eating Cheetos and jerking off to Randy's speech.
Oh, jeez.
Kenny is just eating his little flaming hot fries and just like, we flick the bean. and listen to Randy talk about 3 rules of surviving a horror movie. That's not true, but somewhat. Not the jerking off part.
No.
But they both look at the video and see Ghostface is behind Randy, ready to kill him. So it's kind of funny if you think about it, because like Randy is yelling at the TV screen to Jamie Lee Curtis, like, turn around, as he has a killer behind him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in the meantime, you have Sydney and the cameraman, Kenny, telling Randy to turn around because the killer's right behind him. And then you have us, you and me, watching the movie saying, cameraman, Sydney, turn around. There might be a there.
Go look.
But the cameraman realizes that he's like, oh shit, they're gonna kill Randy. So he opens the van to like go running towards the house. But then he remembers it's this 30-second delay. So as soon as he turns around, he gets slashed in the throat by Ghostface. And that is the end of Kenny. From here, it's just a lot of chasing around with Sydney around the van, her radioing the cops from Dewey's car. It's just like a lot of like, okay, seen this, done that, come on. Meanwhile, Gail is shouting for Kenny. That's his name. Because I forgot. I just called him that, that tub of lard.
Does she ever at some point say, oh my God, they killed Kenny?
Oh God, imagine if she did. It's like, oh my God, they killed Kenny. And then she looks at the camera and she goes,
wink.
She gets inside the van and she's like, oh God, let me call the police. But then out pops Randy. He's like, hey, we need to. And then she just hits him on the face with her phone until he passes out. She's like,
and that meant something back then.
Yeah. Oh yeah, those big ass brick phones.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna it's gonna give you a concussion for sure.
Yeah.
She turns on the car, but there's blood on the windshield, and Kenny falls from the roof of the car to the hood. And she's like, oh my God, I'm sorry, Kenny, but get the fuck off my car. So she does a little wheelie to throw him off the car, and she's running away.
Then she does a donut.
She does a little wheelie and a donut, and then Mrs. Grandma that goes out there with her little jar of eggnog goes like, what's going on? Nobody gets that at all. Reference to the last episode. Anyway, Sydney comes out and is waving for help. She's like in the middle of the road. I'm also like waving myself as if I'm Sydney.
I can so picture you doing that. You love to gesture when you're telling a story.
I really am. But Sydney is waving for help in the middle of the road. She's like, help! Which causes Gail to like freak out and like to not hit her. She drives off the road and hits a tree. Tim, wasn't that wild that Monica Geller hit a tree?
That is wild. Monica Geller's very careful usually.
And then Shenandoah Bong goes like, oh. Anyway, skipping all this.
Could be any more of a klutz?
So the last part, Sydney goes back into Stu's home. Before she goes there, she finds Dewey, and he comes out of the house with a knife stabbed behind his back. Which, again, if you don't see it, you could be thinking like, oh, wait, is he the killer? Like, is this like a setup? Right? She goes to radio for help, but, it's constantly being taunted by Ghostface. Eventually, she runs into the house and sees Stu and Randy both screaming that the other one is the killer. So she doesn't know who to believe, and she shoots both of them in the face. The end. Just kidding. She says to go fuck themselves or something, and she just, like, closes the door behind her. And when she's inside behind this closed door, she sees Billy dripping in blood, Tim, calling out for her.
No.
And he falls down the stairs and she goes to help him. And I'm thinking like, wait, he's alive? He asks for the gun. It's like, girl, give it to me. And she's like, Billy, are you okay? You're like stabbed 20 times. Like, give me the gun. So she gives him the gun and he opens the door. And I'm thinking like, what the hell are you doing? Like, you just were stabbed. And Randy goes into the house and goes, Stu's gone mad, which then prompts Billy to use the famous line, we all go a little mad sometimes.
Ooh,
and then
creepy.
pow, 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 shoots Randy in the shoulder. That's a reference to the movie Psycho, that line.
Now, I have to say, though, the thing that's in the ending of this movie, there's a lot of gun stuff, which I kind of get, I don't know why it bothers me a little bit, because I kind of feel like this is a slasher movie. Like, shouldn't it be knives and household implements and chainsaws and the occasional machete, axe maybe, but like a gun, that's not really a slasher. That's more like, okay, now it goes into other territory. No, you're right. No, I never liked that they did that. I always felt like that didn't really, like, why did they have to do that? But anyway, that's me being nitpicky. No, but that's a fair point though.
So he asks for the gun and he shoots Randy, as I mentioned. Sydney is like, what the fuck? And she tries to run from Billy and bumps into Stu, who whips out his little voice modulator thingy and says, surprise, Sydney. Tim, they're both the killers.
They're both the killers. Oh, God. Who would have suspected?
How did you feel about this when you first saw it?
Okay, here's the thing. I was surprised at the time, and I thought it was an interesting twist. Now, looking back on it now, I'm kind of like it's a lot of coordination to do for two clearly crazy people, but I don't know. I mean, it's interesting. It's an interesting twist, I guess.
You even like this movie?
I do. I really like this movie, but looking back on it, I feel like when I think about the twist, I think like, I don't know, like logistically, well, does it completely make sense, do you think? Like when you think about the logistics of it, like how they organized it?
Yeah, like who was killing who when?
Yeah.
I think there's something online that explains the timeline of like, okay, when this person was killed, it was Billy. When this person killed, it was Stu.
Okay. Well, I should probably look at that chart then. You know what it kind of reminds me of, actually? I mean, not that I've watched this show all that much, but I remember my sister was very into Pretty Little Liars.
Yeah.
And in that show, there's a character named A who's like the big bad person in the show. And I think I remember hearing from fans of the show when it ended that character, it didn't even make sense who they said it was, because it was just too like convoluted, like all the amount of times they would have had to have been in different places. Didn't they say the same thing about Gossip Girl too?
I don't know. I didn't see those shows, but I do know that it's like they do that a lot for like Lost, where it's like a lot of the characters just didn't make any sense in terms of like they're supposed to be this character or this whatever.
Yeah, like they say, oh, they were there the whole time, and he's saying, wait, no, that doesn't really...
like, there's this one episode of Lost where they randomly, how a lot of shows like back then, not anymore. Now everything's like 5 episodes and that's an entire season. But back then you had like 24 episodes and you had a lot of filler episodes, which were also fun, I think.
Oh, I thought they were too. Yeah.
Yeah, but like in one of the episodes of Lost, they just randomly included these 2 actors from Brazil or whatever, and it turns out they were always in the background of like the entire series. I was like, come on. And they were just a filler episode, so they added nothing to the show. But sometimes
I never saw that one.
Yeah, sometimes it's fine if they do that. But I guess I get where you're coming from in terms of like they're both the killer, and you're like, I don't know how that works, but they both take her to the kitchen where they tell her that essentially they set up Cotton Weary for her mother's murder. It turns out that the reason they were seeking revenge was due to the fact that Sydney's mother had sex with Billy's father, which led to his mother leaving. I'm not saying it's justified at all, first of all.
Okay, let's get that clear.
That's out of the way. I can see Billy, like, his reasoning would make sense for him.
Yeah,
I get that.
For him specifically.
But why is Stu in on all this?
Yeah, it's one of those things where I think, aren't we just supposed to believe that Stu is just crazy?
Maybe, yeah.
And therefore would do anything.
Billy. Maybe he's Billy.
It could be that. It could be that.
Yeah. Well, so the good thing is they still play by the horror rules, though. Even though they tried to kill her in earlier scenes, they officially won't kill her until they realize that she's no longer a virgin, because obviously Billy and Sydney went upstairs and had sex. But imagine you sleep with somebody and 30 minutes later you're hearing them tell you why they want to kill you. That's so fucked up.
That is fucked up.
Yeah. Stu goes and whips out Sydney's father from the closet, who is beaten up and gagged. That's every Saturday night for me. And they say that they're going to use the anniversary of her mother's death as the reason her father went nuts and killed all of these people. So they're trying to frame the father.
Yeah, that also is kind of like, you really think you're going to frame a bunch of people? I mean, look how much blood is everywhere. Like, I feel like you're all over this house.
Your fingerprints are all over the place.
Yeah, like there's so many things that we could trace back to. It's like these guys have not watched a single episode of CSI.
They say that everyone's going to die, except for them two, of course. They're going to be the only survivors, so they start stabbing each other to look like they were also attacked. You have to know where to stab each other, because Tim, if I ask you, like, Tim, I need you to stab me so I can set up my landlord and say that he stabbed me so that way I don't have to pay rent for the next 2 months.
Yeah.
Would you do it?
No.
And would you know where to stab me?
No and no.
Oh, okay. Well, Stu, after their
No,
stab,
and the face.
exactly. Stu goes to get the gun. He's limping around with blood coming out of all of his holes, and realizes the gun.
Oh, you're real nice, aren't you?
out of his wounds, I mean, and he realizes the gun is missing. And there's Monica Geller. She has it. Gale Weathers.
I know.
She tells him that she's going to kill them and be the real hero. Well, she didn't say that. She's going to be like, I'm the one who stopped everything, but I'm paraphrasing here. Billy goes towards Gale to call her bluff on shooting them. And again, I guess he realizes the safety is on.
Womp womp.
Yeah. And he basically knocks her down because he realizes the gun has a safety. So he's like, well, too bad for you, bitch. And when him and Stu turn around to get back to Sydney, her and her father are no longer there. They're gone.
Without a trace.
It's like, where is she? Yes, without a trace. The phone rings and Billy answers, and it's Sydney on the other line with her little voice modulator. And she goes, what's your favorite recipe for cooking?
Lentil soup, perhaps.
With some extra lentils. But now she's the one playing their little game. And she says that she called the cops and they're going downtown. See?
Downtown.
When you're alone. Anyway. And
that's where my mind goes.
Yes, 100%. Every time I hear the word downtown, I think to that song.
Honestly.
Mm-hmm. But Billy goes on a wild little tangent. Not really, but he just starts like, where are you, bitch? And he throws a phone at Stu. And Stu's like, did you really call the cops? And he's like, you bet your ass. My parents are going to be so mad at me. I'm like, dude, you're going to be dead. You're bleeding to death.
Okay, but I have to give Matthew Lillard credit. I feel like he's so good in this movie. And I was thinking about all these scenes and thinking, oh, he plays such a good crazy guy. He's honestly kind of underrated, I feel like. Yeah,
I know people will shit on it, but he was really good as Shaggy from Scooby-Doo, too.
Oh, yeah, I know. Oh, yeah. I love him in that.
Yeah. So Billy goes, while trying to find Sydney, and then Sydney eventually comes out of the closet wearing the Ghostface outfit and mask, and she kind of stabs Billy with an umbrella. But I was thinking to myself, well, what if the cops showed up at that exact time and they see you wearing the Ghostface outfit?
If it's Dewey, they will lose the evidence and drop their gun.
Of course. Yeah, but it's just like, if I were them, I would never wear that outfit. Not even to play a little game. Like, you know what? You want to play Ghostface? Let me do it back to you. Like, I wouldn't do that because, again, no. I feel like I would be risking it and a cop would just shoot me in the head.
Yeah. He would.
So out comes, so after she, quote unquote, stabs Billy and he's out on the ground, Stu comes out and starts chasing her around the house, and he eventually trips her and gets on top of her, and he proclaims, like, I've always had a thing for you, Sid. And then she hits him with a lamp to knock him out of to knock him out for a bit. And she grabs the TV, those big ass 90s TVs, Tim.
I do.
Yeah. Did you ever have one of those, or were you always the little flat screen ones?
No. We had one of those ones with like the bubble glass screen that like kind of came out of the TV. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, so like she grabs the TV and she says, in your dreams, and just crushes his face with the TV. Also, I feel like there was a double reference here. First, it's a reference to Dream Warriors because she said, in your dreams, Dream Warriors. Anyway.
Oh, is that really? Isn't that a common phrase though?
No, it is. But I just thought it was funny because like in Nightmare on
Elm Street
Part 3 or whatever, the Dream Warriors.
Dream Warriors. Yeah.
That's where one of the patients is killed by Freddy Krueger when he picks her up and smashes her head inside the TV. Do you remember that?
I do. And then he says, welcome to prime time, bitch.
Exactly. But the reason I'm bringing it up is like, she's like, in your dreams, Dream Warriors. I know, it's just stupid. That's probably nothing. But the whole Freddy...
I wish she had said, I want to be beautiful and bad.
And then she whipped her. She fucking pops up needles from her fingers.
Yeah, that would be great.
Heroin. Anyway. So Sydney goes to grab the Ghostface mask and Randy startles her. And he goes like, oh, I'm still alive, girl.
Girl, I'm still alive.
Girl, I'm still alive. He says he's never been happy to be a virgin, hence his survival. But then Billy then punches him and starts to choke Sydney. But then, boom! Gale Weather shoots Billy and finishes with a tagline, get ready to catch the hurricane when Gale Weather comes to town.
She does not say that.
No? What did you say?
She says, it's getting pretty windy in here. I'm feeling some serious gales.
And then she stuck her hands out and did like a little tornado move. And she flew away.
Dun, 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 dun.
I'll be back for the sequel.
So long.
So long, everybody. No, but she like she shoots him. It's like, I guess they didn't forget the safety this time, motherfucker, or something. I don't remember.
Yeah.
They all stand over Billy's parent dead body, and Randy says, "This is the part of the movie when the guy comes up for one last scare." And then Billy just like, gets up to scare them, but Sydney pops one in the forehead and says, "Not in my movie, bitch."
Ooh,
she didn't
good
say
line.
bitch.
No, but it's still a good line.
And then the last part, Tim, we just cut to the end of the movie where Sydney and her father are hugging. Father.
I don't remember that scene.
No? Oh, no, she went... I don't mean like hugging. Okay. We cut to the end of the movie where Sydney and her father are like... She's like removing the gag from his mouth. And that's from Scary Movie, actually. Where she's like, I don't know, taking care of him, mending his wounds. And Gail Weathers is outside on camera telling the first-hand story of everything that just happened while they're wheeling David Arquette's body, because he's still alive. So not really his body. They're wheeling Dewey out into the ambulance. And, of course, nobody cares for little Kenny.
No, Kenny was a goner.
He was a goner, yeah. So that was the end of our Scream movie recap. Tim, any final thoughts on Scream overall and your own opinions if you feel that, even though you kind of almost shat on it the whole time, but how you think the movie Scream revolutionized the horror genre?
Well, it revolutionized it.
Sorry, I'm like revolutionized. Sorry. Tim, what are your final thoughts on the movie Scream and how the film revolutionized the horror genre?
It revolutionized it in so many ways, I think. I mean, it started the whole idea. Well, it didn't really start it because Wes Craven's A New Nightmare kind of started it. But it was kind of the first big horror movie to start being really self-aware. And it had a lot of in-jokes in it. And it's just a great piece of 90s pop culture. I love it so much.
Yeah, I think like in general, it did revolutionize or like at least bring back the whole slasher genre. Because I think in the 90s, it had gone through a little bit of a slump. Slashers, and Scream just took it to that other level because it was like current for the time. It referenced a lot of what the horror movies that we all liked or loved. And it was just funny. Like, aside from the fact that it was scary, it was also really funny. And it, just overall, it played with the rules. But the only drawback to all of this, I guess, is like, because it inspired so many other films after it. You know what I mean? Like, you have like, I don't know if it came after, but like, you have like movies like Cherry Hills and I don't know.
Well, I Know You Did Last Summer came after, and it was kind of similar.
Yeah, I Know What You Did Last Summer. And then you had the sequels, which we can talk about in a minute. But the point is that it became too much, I guess, at that point, that it started getting parodied by Scary Movie. And when Scary Movie is able to do just as good of a job in terms of the comedy part of it, it kind of loses its little bit of its muster for the sequels. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like, okay, I see Ghostface, and now I can't picture fucking the Ghostface from Scary Movie. Or
it's kind of true. Yeah. I do feel like that, honestly, sometimes.
Yeah. And I've seen other people who like react to the movie and they're saying like, oh, there's Doofy. And I'm like, wait, no, Doofy is from Scary Movie, not from Scream.
Oh, that's so sad though.
Yeah, because I'm saying like it did such a great job at spoofing Scream and other movies that you couldn't take it that seriously, the sequels. And they have to be constantly like thinking like, how do we reinvent ourselves and how do we do this? And they did the whole movie within a movie, which I fucking love. For myself, like, I do want to talk about the sequels, like which out of like we can just talk like about one or two sequels that we just really, really love.
Okay.
Which one's your well, say it, bitch.
Well, I have to say, I mean, I know I've told you this before off air, but Scream 2, I think actually, I don't know if it's my favorite Scream movie because I really do love this one too, but it's definitely tied with the original Scream. I love Scream 2. For some reason, the way they kind of executed and how everyone just looks so cool in it, and I feel like they have some really good scares in it. So for me, Scream 2 is the best. So if you're doing a movie marathon, I recommend doing Scream and then immediately Scream 2 right after. What do you think?
Yeah, well, it takes place in college. So it's like a natural progression, right, of her character. We're just seeing her like, okay, she's growing up now. Now she's in college. Different town, I'm thinking. I'm not sure. I do like that one, but I think my favorite sequel that stars like Neve Campbell and, you know, the whole gang is part 3. I really like the movie within a movie aspect. I think Posey Parker is hilarious as
Parker
Posey. What did I say? Posey Parker. Parker Posey, I guess I don't really like her then. No, but yeah, I think she is hilarious as Gail Weathers, the character.
She is. There's some really funny moments in Scream 3, but for me, not enough to make it.
No, not even the scene where they go backstage in the Hollywood set and
Carrie Fisher is there.
Yeah, Carrie Fisher is there, and then Gail Weathers, the real Gail Weathers, pops out like a freaking 20 or a 10, or I forget what she gives her, like a bill. Like, how about this president? Can he help us with the stuff that we need? And then the fake Parker Posey, she says, like, what are you, like 12 or whatever? And then she takes off like her ring, and she's like, here, will this get us some more information? And she's like, okay, well, let me tell you. I thought that scene was hilarious.
It was funny. I mean, it was. It has a lot of...
I mean, I don't know if it's scary.
Yeah, that's the thing. It has like one too many funny moments and not quite enough scares, I guess.
Yeah, no, you're right. I don't think it's scary. Maybe that's why my judgment is a little clouded. But anyway, I like that one. But I do, and I know it's not a popular opinion, but I don't care.
I'm ready for it.
I really do like the Melissa Barrera / Jenna Ortega sequels. I think they're
those are really good. No, yeah. Don't a lot of people like those? I thought most people do.
I think that most people didn't like the part 5, which is the one where they first introduced the 2 characters of Jenna Ortega and of the Carpenter sisters, excuse me, because they were just saying, oh, where's Neve? Where's, you know, blah, 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 or whatever. And they do come out, but they come out for very little. And then,
yeah, it's true.
You know what I mean? So I get where it's coming from, because if you're like a loyal fan of this, and I know they're making a part 7, which I'm really not looking forward to, only because of the way they played.
I know, we talked about it earlier.
Yeah, we already talked about it earlier, but yeah, so I would say my favorite sequel or whatever to these films is part 3, with a movie within a movie, and then part 5 with the 2 Carpenter sisters.
Well, fair enough.
And the Scary Movie franchise. How about that?
Oh, yeah. Well, I love that too. I mean, who does love the Scary Movie franchise?
The first one, because that's the only one that references Scream. But yes, you're right.
I like the first one and the third one.
Third one. I really like the first and second one.
No. The third one was so funny. It had like an 8 Mile parody. It was like so funny.
I didn't really like that. I'm sorry. Like, I know this is not relevant to the shows or to the topic. Sorry, listeners. But just a real quick, I didn't like the 8 Mile or the Ring reference.
Oh, I thought it was funny.
I mean, I think it's fine, but I just really like the first 2. So how about that?
Well, we disagree. How about that?
Oh, okay. Well, all right. Tim, thank you once again for being on the Itty Bitty Horror Podcast. We're back. We took a short hiatus, as some of you may know, or not. Tim and I were on the last episode was the Santa Claus episode, but
a memorable one,
a very memorable one. And this is the first episode back since then. But we did record 2 episodes of this second podcast called Tabloid Time Warp, where we discuss the online archives of Weekly World News. So please check that out, or this one. Feel free to give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Tim, do you have anything to say to our listeners as a goodbye?
I just have to say I'm sorry if my life is not good enough for your perfect existence.
That's not what I'm saying, Tim. If you're a Scream fan, you'll get the reference. If you're not, you're just like, guys, just shut the fuck up. And I'm thinking of Scary Movie because I'm like, oh, shut the fuck up, where the teacher pushes the student's head off. Anyway.
Yes, I remember.
Yes, everybody, thank you so much for coming back and joining us. Our little itty bitty show. We miss you. Our little itty bitty. What did we say we were going to call our listeners?
I think they're just called our little itty bitties.
Our itty bitty titties. We love it.
No.
We won't say that. But follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook. Connect with us. Leave us
MySpace.
MySpace. We don't have a MySpace. Blue Sky. We are on Blue Sky. And feel free to check us out. And we'll be back next week to discuss Tim. Just Tim.
No, we're not doing that.
What are we going to discuss, Tim? What's the next
We're
episode
gonna-
you'll be on?
We're discussing none other than an extremely goofy movie.
Thanks, everybody, for joining us on this last episode, and we hope to see you again next week. Bye, everybody.
See you then.
See you then. See you then. Is it still recording? Oh, yeah, it is.
You know it is.